Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day 4, technically, of the Invitational 2018 Qualifiers playoffs. Today we are on day 2 of Latin America, their grand final. I'm Milosh the Medic, and with me, of course, is Devin Emzo de Becker, and we're getting ready for another awesome day.
Yeah, this best of fives, man.
Yeah, today.
It's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, we have to start out by mentioning this. Today is going to be yet again a best of 5. So I cannot wait to see what a Brazilian team will do in a best of 5 because they're kind of used to this as well.
Yeah, they play best of 5s in their land events, and for Pro League actually, I think some of their finals were best of 5s. I remember, I think it was season 1 was like that, and it was really intense to watch because these guys really go back and forth. I mean, it depends on the matchup here, but I don't expect 3 maps and that's it. Probably at least see 4, maybe 5. They just get nuttier. I don't feel like I see the Latin American teams get tired in these. Like where you're, oh, they're exhausted. It's map 4. It's like no, they're just. Not till map 5 do they really start slowing down, and these teams, you know, don't play slow.
Yeah, it's constant energy with these teams, but you know, both teams are going to be playing today. Obviously, we saw yesterday LANCHONETE playing; they were able to win out their game and move on to this grand final. Of course, in a bit of an upset, we still saw a MOPA team going down.
Surprise there.
Honestly. Since we're going to talk about game 1 in just a sec, but since you got to cast game 2 with Intero, what was the standout thing in MOPA versus BRK? Like, what gave BRK that edge, even though on paper MOPA should have had the advantage?
Cyber? I mean, he played really well. I mean, there was other standout players as well. I'm just joking that, but I mean, I feel like they really kind of had it together. I felt like saw BRK playing a lot smarter and a lot more cautious, especially on their attacks. You saw attacks from MOPA just kind of being all over the place, and ultimately it cost them.
All right, well, let's take a look at the week's schedule, just so you guys what went down just until now. So, of course, we start off with Sunday with NA Game Day 1, both semifinals. ERA versus Team Reckless the next day, the final. Congratulations again to ERA making it there. Now, yesterday we saw LANCHONETE versus Untitled Esports. LANCHONETE making it to the final. Of course, BRK taking down MOPA to get into the Latin American final. However, one thing I still need to let you guys know, we're going to keep repeating it during the broadcast as well, is that EU was scheduled to be the same as NA and Latin America with 2 semifinals and a final. However, since EU has won all 3 of the Pro League finals this season, especially the previous one, EU already gets a team in there, which is why both of these semifinals are technically finals. And so what will happen is Pato Calypsa versus Room Factory will be played on Thursday, January 11th, and that'll be a best of 5. And then Friday will be 1UP versus Supremacy, again in a best of 5. Now, day 1 starts at 7 p.m., day 2 starts at 8:30. We're going to check that out in just a second. Of course, this weekend is going to be APAC. The top 4 teams are going to be making it to the ESL studio in Sydney, and we'll see who can qualify to the Invitational.
Yeah, it should be exciting. There's definitely going to be a lot of mix-ups in the teams that we expected to go to qualifier or to Invitationals because of these qualifiers. That I think the Invitationals will be a bit more of a mix-up than we really anticipated. And I mean, obviously, as you said, we've got those EU ones coming up, and we've got either Patacalypsa, I can't even pronounce their name, versus Room Factory going, and 1UP Esports versus Supremacy, one of them going. So it's like you said, 2 finals. Just going to make it even crazier because those aren't all top-tier teams, just like we've seen from the other ones. And these teams really proving themselves in the qualifiers. I think the qualifiers probably, and the Kick said it earlier to us, it just went much better than we anticipated in terms of really mixing things up. That was the purpose of this, right?
Yes.
To be an open qualifier, to say maybe you're not in Pro League, maybe, you know, like Reckless was. Maybe you're just not already there yet, or maybe you're a new team and you're looking to prove yourself. This was a chance to do it. We see at LANCHONETE, for example, they're total underdogs here. I believe, as it turns out, they were like a 7th place team coming in, and now they're up against a top-tier team with a chance, and coming off of a 10-1 win last time.
That's very convincing, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know who to believe is going to even win in Invitationals, let alone qualifiers at this point. And it's that much more interesting to watch.
All right, well, since we're doing Latin America, let's review what happened through the brackets in Latin America and what got us all the way here. So, with LANCHONETE, they were coming over on this left-hand side. And of course, Team Rogerinho beating Dadai and making it to the quarterfinal. LANCHONETE beating Complex. They were able to take down Rogerinho. On the other side, it was MyP versus Team Synergy. MyP winning out. Unforgiven versus Font. Again, we'll remind you, Font had to forfeit this game for personal reasons. So MyP versus Unforgiven was a quarterfinal game. we had LANCHONETE making it through the quarterfinal, and below it was MyP. And yesterday we saw the semifinal where LANCHONETE was able to win.
And on the other side, it was interesting because of the way Rogerino kind of came in as the first seed rather than MOPA or BRK, we ended up with BRK and MOPA on the other side together, kind of inevitably crashing towards the semifinals, starting off with BRK beating Chaos convincingly. Nax and Faith, Nax coming in a little less hot than BRK did, with just a 2-1, then ATS beating BB Host, EKA beating MOPA beating EKA. Some of those were not really big surprises, although the other teams we don't know as well, so it's hard to say. But making it to the semifinals with BRK versus MOPA was not a big surprise, but what was the big surprise is who came out on top of that to come to these finals.
BRK making it on top and then making it to the final. Of course, LANCHONETE had a very convincing win with 10-1, but here they're facing BRK. This is a different team than what we saw in the past couple of season finals. Of course, for a lot of people that still remember, the team was changed around a couple times. But they have to face LANCHONETE, who have been very convincing in pretty much all of their plays. They've made almost, except for one time, only one mistake, and that's pretty much it during their entire 2-0 versus MyP. Of course, the winning team will make it to the Invitational. Everybody's dream.
Yeah.
And everybody's dream, because already you make it there, you have a decent chunk of cash, then you get to show off yourself, your talent, your team, your organization at that point. It is a huge opportunity for basically any single team or player there. So you really want to be at the Invitational.
I feel like BRK has really bet on the right horses multiple times to get to the finals or the Invitationals.
All right, well, let's take a look at the schedule for tonight. Of course, LANCHONETE versus BRK, the only game that we're going to have, so starting in just a bit. And this is going to be a best of 5, may I remind you. Tomorrow, though, we're gonna start off with the EU playoffs for the qualifiers. It's going to be Patokalipsa, a local Polish team, so everybody here is really happy.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and of course, versus Room Factor, for a Russian team as well, is going to be around. And they're going to be playing at 7 p.m. CET, so 1900 CET at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, on Friday will be another best of 5. All 3 games are best of 5s. Supremacy versus 1UP Esport, of course, at 20:30 CET or 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, I think it's important for everyone listening right now to note that it's 2 different times. So the one on Friday will start an hour and a half later than the one on Thursday. So just be aware of that. Set your calendar, set your reminders, because those will both be really good matches, and you don't want to miss those to see, because both of them are deciding people that are going to Invitationals. It's not just a lead up to, oh, maybe I'll skip the semis and watch the finals. No, both of them are finals, so make a note of the times and dates for sure.
And both of them are going to be pretty exciting games for a few different reasons, but we'll talk about those, of course, later on tomorrow, basically. But focus today, of course, LANCHONETE versus BRK, and honestly, I cannot wait to see what BRK has in store versus LANCHONETE, because I hope that when the game ended, they have watched the VODs and made sure what there is that really stood out for LANCHONETE. But let's take a look at the roster for BRK and see what setup they're going to be using on today.
So on BRK, we've got Novies, who had some good plays last night for sure. Diogo, PX1, and Cyber. One, the only player remaining, as we mentioned last night, from the original BRK roster. The other 4 guys going over to the team that just got beat by them last night. So one, as we called it, this was one's revenge. Getting to this point here. So nicely played by him. The other pickups, though, are no strangers. We have a lot of players from Merciless, for example, that came in and showed no mercy last night. Played quite well for coming in from a team that wasn't a high-placing team previously, just like LANCHONETE as well. So both of these teams, in a way, are kind of coming up from being underdogs in that sense, despite the familiarity of the BRK name. And one showing that maybe he didn't have a great performance before, but he sure did last night.
Yeah, and it is a bit surprising as well, because you look at the rosters, you look at the numbers and the experience, and immediately what stands out is MOPA.
Yeah.
Just because of the way that they play and the history of each one of their players. But unfortunately, that was not enough. You need to play at your apex every single game, every single round, and that is how you make it to the Invitational.
Yeah.
Sure, you can think about, community slots, invites, all of that, but that's all on the side. Here, you show everybody what you have really to bring to the table.
Yeah, and that's what I said too. I think BRK as an organization has had a good eye for the right talent, because they picked up the original Black Dragons team. That team made it to the finals. They picked up these guys. These guys are going to make it potentially to Invitationals. So nice choices there.
All right, well, let's take a look at the LANCHONETE roster and see who are these fantastic players that were able to make it here. So, of course, Revolt, Spawns, Tuna, FK1, and GCR. Honestly, FK1 was impressive.
GCR as well.
GCR
absolutely.
as well, yes. And the rest of the team basically are just playing supporting one another.
It certainly worked out to get a 10-1.
Yeah, a 10-1, and even, I'll say it again, like, they lost one round, but it was, you know.
I felt like they could have almost even clutched
Yeah,
that out. That was
exactly,
even close.
Exactly, and the one other mistake that they made just ended up in them winning anyways.
Yeah.
That was the final round on Oregon, and otherwise, LANCHONETE just seemed unstoppable. Like, just go for 10-0 immediately. And to really delve into what pushed them to this edge, I think is just because every single time you make one tiny mistake or you hesitate for a second, they get in your head. They understand what you're going to do, and they will counteract you. They will get aggressive up to you when they know you are so focused and tunnel visioned on something else. You know, multiple angles that you need to watch as a player. You know, anchor on the site. You don't know what to do. They're able to push against you, and they will not hesitate.
Yeah.
But also, they were really good at just bringing out setups and operators that you wouldn't really usually see as combos.
And I mean, it was just coordination, which is kind of funny because this is actually a mishmash team essentially from Pain and Ints, but it's a mishmash of people that have played together on those teams. So you've got 2 people from Ints, 2 people from Pain. I think someone, Revolts might have been on some other teams. So these are like experienced players, but from teams that maybe just didn't have the synergy that they required, but they brought, you know, their friend over, buddy system over to here. And it's clearly working out for them because they have that coordination. FK1 and GCR worked together previously, and you saw that synergy that they brought from the previous experience on Ints and just absolutely used it to their main advantage.
Yep. Honestly, it was just surprising how little mistakes were made by LANCHONETE yesterday. BRK, on the other hand, what do they need to show? Because they beat technically the best team in the region, MOPA.
I mean, I feel like maybe it just wasn't a good day. I don't like to use that excuse that you know, they just weren't having a good day, but it clearly seemed they weren't on their usual like caliber of coordination, because it's not like this situation where you've got some teams mashed together or whatever. They've been playing together for quite some time, and we've seen their performance all the way to last season finals and things like that. They've been around for a while. They know what they're doing. It's just a question of maybe they just weren't ready to execute it on it, or just didn't have their heart in it enough, or just having a bad day. It's hard to say. I mean, there also could have been, for example, sometimes things happen where there's a mistake or two, and then it leads to disagreements on comms, and then those can escalate, and there's a lot of that we cannot see as spectators to understand what the team dynamics are like. And even if we could hear them, it'd be in Portuguese anyway, so I'd be lost nonetheless, but I would hear some shouting, I imagine. But I'm sure they're going to have plenty of time to think about it. There is potentially a spot for them with a wild card or a community vote, so there's still a chance we could see them there, and maybe not one's revenge as much after all, but either way, they're going to have to be doing some thinking now, especially going into the next season.
Yeah, and it's definitely not the most prestigious way to enter the tournament, to be honest.
No, it's not. And I imagine going in with more pride would be great, especially for a country that has a lot of pride among its players and its community, especially for a team that's been there before and was expected to be there again through the system. But
all right, let's look at the maps just to see what was banned out. Remember, this is a best of 5, so we're going to have 4 total map bans instead of the usual 6 when we have our best of 3s like we saw yesterday. So let's see what was gone down.
This much more chance that we'll see Border in Oregon in here, but then that means probably some other maps we don't expect to see as much. I anticipate some Clubhouse, maybe. Yeah, maybe Coastline, but yeah, I don't know. I don't remember seeing a lot of Skyscraper from LATAM, so that could be next on the chopping block. We've talked about Bank. Used to be a map that they played a lot. We're seeing it get banned both nights here. Maybe just not interested in anymore with the current ops.
Yeah,
Ella, for example, on
this
Bank.
is something that Kix was saying yesterday. Like, sometimes you will ban the maps, which is 100% true. You'll ban a map because the other team is obviously very comfortable on it. So banning an opposing team's comfort pick is very logical. So you saw Bank, Coastline, Dostoyevsky, and of course Skyscraper being banned out. Leaves us Border, Chalet, Clubhouse, Consulate, and Oregon. I mean, it's not a Rainbow Six tournament matchup if there's no Border in Oregon, right?
At least not this season. It's season by season, it tends to change. I mean, this is an off season, so it's not the same kind of season, but there definitely is a season in terms of meta here and the DLC and stuff like that, and so that affects that. None of the map that are left over are really a big surprise, I would say. Chalet is one that I think maybe sometimes more some of the teams are reluctant to play, but in this particular matchup, when you've got more maps you have to play, it's no surprise to see that incorporated there. Consulate, of course, not a surprise as well. And then Border Oregon, like we've talked about, a lot of these picks were just kind of what you're left with when you take out all the stuff that they didn't want to play because you had less bans. But that makes it more exciting for us, right? Because we don't see, sometimes we see with just 3 maps, a little more lopsidedness. Because we see this team is just good at these 2 maps, and that's 2 out of 3, and then you win. Whereas this can really kind of swing back and forth in terms of a variety of map pool between these 2 teams. Because as a team, you kind of have to have 6 fairly good maps. But let's be honest, you're not going to have 6 of the best maps for you.
Yep.
You're going to have a lot less. So spreading that out among 5, I think makes a good difference. But that's assuming we make it to 5, right? So the last one being the decider, we may not make it there. There's a good chance this will just go to 3 or even 4.
I mean, here's the question. Would it actually go to 5? What would it take to get it to 5 from BRK? Because I'm still looking at this and saying, LANCHONETE played extremely
And that's what you want from an underdog going this, right? You have a top dog and an underdog. The underdog showing off, oh, maybe we were a 7th place team before, but now we're going in and we're just going to 10-1 the competition. I mean, maybe my P wasn't on the top of their game that night, and that was a situation where maybe it should have been more like, you know, a little more balanced, a little more rounds from the other team. But nonetheless, it was showing that they can excel at what they're doing, and it's a question of BRK taking advantage of any weaknesses they see in that. If they do, great. If not, this could go all the way to 4 or 5 maps.
You know, like statistically speaking, when there's a best of 5, it usually would go a 3-1. You know, usually you would
That's
see
what we
these
saw
4
from
maps.
Reckless Era, for example.
And that was an extremely interesting game, so I highly recommend. But let's see what were the map picks. So, of course, it's best of 5, so there are 5 total maps, so 4 that are picked up and 1 final decider. And, you know, honestly, I don't think LANCHONETE would let go of an Oregon. I think they would go for an Oregon. They'll try to get it first because it means that they might have the advantage early on.
Well, they 5-0'd on that one, whereas it was 5-1 on Consulate. So it's, yeah, I mean, Oregon's definitely a good one for them. Clubhouse, though, an interesting start from BRK. They did 5-3 on that last night against, that was the first map they won against MOPA. So that was a good lead off for them, and they're obviously trying to do the same thing again tonight, saying, hey, let's start off on that same great foot that we had on Clubhouse last time.
And map 2 should be picked. There we go, Oregon.
There we go.
LANCHONETE directly going for Oregon. So
both of them picking their strong maps
they're
first.
strong map. They're ready for it, and this is what they're willing to show. Now, would BRK go for Chalet? Yes, there we go. Because LANCHONETE actually banned Chalet yesterday, and we saw a bank ban from my P. But the last 2 maps, how are they going to be staggered?
Well, okay, Consulate, yeah, that's not a big surprise there.
That's exactly what we saw from yesterday.
Leaving Border's the decider, or I mean, Oregon is the decider, though. Wait, no, that can't be right. Border, there we go. Yes, that's what I thought there. That's a good decider, though. We like to see that. That one or Oregon are good deciders because they can be more 50-50. Although we have seen definitely some lopsided plays occasionally on Border when a team really just has a solid setup that they're able to defend on both floors.
But you look at the map and you're like, if there was any map that is more varied and fair, if you will, than Border and Oregon, there really aren't any. Yeah. Consulate is the only one that really gets anywhere near them in terms of being fair for both sides. I'm thinking Border would be a perfect way to end this out, and Consulate, of course, and Oregon going to. Yeah.
That's assuming we make it that far. I think there's less chance of getting to a decider map in a best of 5 than there is in a best of 3. So our chances of seeding Border are a little bit lower, but that will be interesting, assuming because the players are going to be a little played out towards that, and so that's really going to be who has the stamina, who still has the mental fortitude and the cool to be able to continue the fight at that point, because that means they've gone back and forth, and it's anyone's game at that point, because otherwise you don't get to the 5th map.
Yeah, so normally how it goes is that we saw the first pick on Clubhouse, second one was Oregon, so it's going to be played Clubhouse, then Oregon, then we will go for Chalet, and then we will go for Consulate, and then to decide it all on Border yet again, if we do get to that map.
It'll be interesting, though, because I feel like Chalet is the one that tends to be the most lopsided of those. Except for Clubhouse occasionally as well, though, because if a team can't defend bar well, so we've seen that it'll be a little more lopsided, just because most teams can defend Armory to an extent. So
to some extent, if you can't defend Armory, there's
trouble. When we saw that was why there was trouble for MOBA last night. So yeah, that's what happens. You can't defend Armory, don't pick Clubhouse.
Yes, indeed. But because of the way that the site itself works, there's so many strategies to not only turtle, but some tiny strategies that we see that, for example, Kitchen Hatch.
Yeah.
You would see a lot of teams going for the Habana, and then just somebody below with an RGO impact nade and just impact the charges.
Yeah. And you see teams trying to adapt to it as well. They start adjusting the positioning of those Hibana discs to try and get it in the corner as far away from that hit point, because there's kind of a certain spot that you have to hit with those impact nades. And we see more teams starting to use impact nades like that. We saw one just the other day where they kind of came around a corner and impact naded it in a weird way that wasn't that usual strategy, but teams have learned, you know, hey, we can't shoot them off as often as we'd like, depending on the map. There are definitely positions, for example, in Chalet, there's teams that will play it to be able to shoot the discs off if they play on that side tunnel, things like that. There's certain maps and certain bomb spots where you can shoot the discs off and certain ones where you can impact nade it off. So I like to see those strats, so some good counters besides bandit tricking. All
right, well, ladies and gentlemen, let's stop the arguments, if you will. Let's get into game. It's Clubhouse, map number 1 in this best of 5, BRK versus LANCHONETE. Yet again, Latin America playoffs for Invitational Qualifiers 2018. That is a mouthful.
Yeah, it sure is.
Let's go in game.
All right, nothing too crazy to start off with, although Navis hasn't picked an attacker yet. One thing we saw with him last night a lot was kind of being the solo entry fragger. Hibana not really going to be that kind of role, because usually he was playing a lot of Twitch, for example, last night and entry fragging with that. Then bringing out the Ying again, hopefully we're not going to see that kitchen drop strategy that hasn't been working so well, but that's generally what that's for.
Yeah, you just smoke, then Ying the sides, and then go all the way in. And just
I feel like it works better from the hallway even than doing it from the hatch. Just because when you drop, you're exposed for a minute, and they know exactly the position you're going to land in, right? So if they just aim at that one spot, you can't move while falling midair, right? So if you aim at that one particular spot when the Candelas are done coming out, chances are you're going to hit something.
Yeah.
You can just tap fire even at head height, and you might hit them. So it is just very, very dangerous. And like I said last night, you can't double drop down with that, because chances are you're going to blind someone else with the Candelas, because you're the only one as Ying that cannot get blinded by the Candelas. And I think that's a big factor in Ying's failing.
All right,
nonetheless, though, you saw a great play from one on Glaz last night.
Yes.
So.
The one taps.
Yeah.
Honestly, extremely impressive. But you're in. Readying up is Team LANCHONETE. They are starting off on the defense yet again with FK on GCR spawns, Yuna, and Revolts. So Cyber from BRK. So you're going to see the Ying Glaz. It's a combo that is extremely usual, which means we'll probably have the same exact strategy that we were talking about, which is that kitchen hatch drop.
They do have a thermite, though, so there's a couple different options they can go with to mix that up. One is they could go to breach that arsenal wall that I was talking about, and that's something you can do with a glass and smoke, for example, to cover. The other one is they could blow up church wall, and the last one is they can open up dirt tunnel. So there's a lot of good options that you don't do with the Hibana.
But problem is, you have spawns on the bandit, and on the attacking side of BRK, there's no Thatcher to deal with this. Instead, opt out for an Ash, so they still want to rely on some, just 3-speed firepower.
That's typical, though, with Latin America.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if the Thatcher would have been a better pick here, just to combo with the Thermite a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
just gives them multiple angles of attack.
Yeah, I don't think they're expecting to tangle with the bandit so much, so we'll see if that even factors in here. But it may or may not. They don't have a buck as well, which I think is generally not as good. One can open up a bit of the floor with that glass rifle. It is not Buck's skeleton key, but it is still very destructive to walls and floors. Gives them a nice way to aim down. We did see one playing with Buck's floors like that, so entirely possible.
And GCR even checking the outside just in case somebody wants to go through the tunnel. Won't be the case though, and Spawn's just holding off using that mirror wall for himself. And Cyber is going to get dropped here with the Ash. All right. Not too sure what hit him from below. Was it a C4 that just impacted around him?
Yeah, entirely possible. Looks like he might have been towards the freezer, so he might have been safe from floor shots.
And Novi's even jumping down. There is a mirror wall in blue.
This is how he is. He just has to go in first. He's done his job for the most part. I guess he's saving the negative. X-Cairo doesn't need it, but shooting at a reinforced wall is not going to be the best way to... Oh, that is brave.
Jumps in. Here we go. Spawns that will take him out and even blow up the C4. What is this? What is going on here, Devin? I have no clue why that attack even happened.
Cyber, though, got revenge after getting picked up. Nicely done on his part.
And even a tag on Spawns from the glass, so he's going to be down to 50 HP. PX just trying to move in bit by bit, watching the back, and here we go. That was what we were talking about. Nobody here to pick off the Ying as Diogo jumps on down. There's still one all the way in the back. Somehow did not get the kill on Diogo. Cyber and Diogo and PX will each get a kill, and leaving only one alive. Diogo finishing off Revolts right at the end. A successful push from BRK. The smoke, though, the smoke angle was perfect for this attack. Not just, it doesn't only rely on where the Candelas are thrown, it's where do you put these smokes alongside the glass as well.
I think
to
that's
protect
the only
your-
reason that worked was just there was less people defending Arsenal, so he had good timing on it. So they couldn't do kind of what I was talking about. Sometimes they managed to do it from dirt tunnel though, because they're not going to get blinded by the candelas in dirt, and they'll come out and they'll go for the shots. But in that case, he had good backup, good smoke placement, less defenders down there. Also, Novi's push earlier onto the church made him a little more focused on church side and Moto, and so their attention was diverted a bit from the other side. Now, when the candelas went out, they probably should have known, but rotating at that point when the pressure they were under was difficult to do, and they'd lost the Mira already, for example. So I don't know if that'll work every time, but I got to give Diego credit for pulling it off. But then Eunice probably going to try the same thing here, unless he's got a different strat in mind.
Yeah, and a completely different thought process, if you will. It's going in for a buck.
Yeah, and I think that's better. No, I think it might have been these guys that were bucking and glazing together. I like that combo though, because like Glaz can see sometimes the little pixels of people easier because that yellow highlight makes him a little sometimes better in some ways than Buck for hunting down through those cracks. Even if they're like some of them are not completely broken, for example, you can shoot holes in the floor, like little bullet holes, not go completely through. They can't see you very well, but you can see them bright yellow.
And it also combos, of course, very well with FK1's buck, because you can buck in, and sometimes all that helps you out is like a pellet from the shotgun that just goes right to a left or right side, and there's a tiny hole that is open, and that allows the glass GCR here to get one of those picks. Doesn't even need to reveal himself by shooting through, as you were explaining. Of course, obviously 100% viable strategy.
Now something else we're seeing from the defensive side this time, though, is Diego's bringing out the Legion instead of them having a Bandit. So they don't need the Thatcher the same way that we were talking about last time, but they're also not bringing a Thermite on attack anyways. So it's going to be the Hibana for hatches for the most part, or potentially to open up some of the wall, because we're seeing teams sometimes now just going for 2 hatches and then saving that last one to be able to, for example, open up a wall, counter the Mira that's in church, things like that, because you get that extra utility. I mean, Hibanas are probably one of the best counters to Miras besides Switch drones right now. So it is definitely some utility there, but I'm curious to see if Diogo's Legion Mines end up giving some good intel to an approach, which in this case probably won't be from many angles.
Yeah, for me, this is the perfect setup to counter this sort of attack operator pick from LANCHONETE, because having the Legion means that you will most probably barbed wire right below the hatch, dropping from kitchen, and then have 1 Legion trap on it, and then another goo mine on the side where most attackers will try to rotate, like where we saw the Ying rotate around behind.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's a really good counter to the Ying, because the Ying doesn't throw grenades, right? It throws smoke and throws the candelas, so that it's not going to destroy any of the Legion mines, and there's no Thatcher to do that. So if he drops down, he can't plant because he is carrying the diffuser. You can't press F for both at the same time. Gonna have to pull that Legion mine out first. That's a very good point. I think that could be part of the play here. Do you see that impact nade counter? Again, that's why
it was on the other side.
That's why you see that now, and a good counter with gun as well onto Novi's from spawns.
There we go, kill number 1. That's the Ella taken out. So hopefully those Jmot mines are already been used, just in case. It still revolts. I have to give it to him. A lot of people would try to get a bit too aggressive without the team being ready, but he's still watching the back.
So in this case, though, GCR hoping to get the guy in tunnel, because this is the typical play now. When you know people are going to potentially drop kitchen, playing in tunnel, like I said, because he will guard against these candelas. So we'll see if he's able to do it as successfully as we just saw last round.
Yeah, barbed wire is set right below, so there's probably going to be a Legion trap there. No.
There we go.
And FK1 will get a refrag, just using his C8 here. Again, fantastic rifle to play with at these distances. You see there is still a Legion mine holding off on the backside entrance, and the spot just tagging in the body of 1 here, the smoke. Diogo will get 1, turn it into a 3v3, and Diogo will get the second onto spawns. GCR has to jump in, gets 1 for himself. He's the only man alive versus the last 2. Spots the smoke running away. There's barely any time, and just as time comes to an end, are not able to get that diffuser down. Honestly, we're expecting the Legion mine to be set in a correct position, and then happens exactly what you were talking about last round.
It was a beautiful 2-round illustration of this strat.
Yeah.
Well executed and poorly executed.
Yes. Let's just not smoke off the correct places. Let's just try to put a smoke through the hallway and then jump in, and there's definitely going to be a dude that's just waiting for us to aim directly into the player that's jumping down from the hatch.
I do like that GCR was trying to watch the dirt tunnel, though, to prevent any counters from there. That was smartly played. Unfortunately, he couldn't even land enough of the shots well enough to get that kill initially, so even if he had come out to peek on him, it still, might have not worked. I liked the thought process, just the execution was not there. And as we said, the timing, for example, the defense wasn't softened up the way it was when we saw in the previous round, and that really factored into play. We're going to see them try it again, though, because, again, they've got Diogo on the Ying, so this is the exact same lineup again. Now the question is, will that work twice? Because the nice thing about attack wins, of course, is we get to see the same defense try it again, generally, because unless they decide to switch sites, they can play the same side again. And so we'll see potentially the same attack strat try it again as well. And it's like, okay, take two. We can see a refinement, kind of compare and contrast what worked, what didn't. And both teams obviously trying to adapt as well. So we'll see this round.
I think if you're not bringing a Thatcher, in this case with this exact setup with the Glaza Ying, a Ashe, a Habana, and the Thermite, it's definitely, in my mind at least, it's because you want to take down every single hatch or reinforced surface possible, excluding your normal church wall leading into the main
In this
hallway.
case, though, Novi's also kept one for last time, and that could have been for the mirror wall. You did see some of the wall was opened. I don't think that was from him, but he did have the option. I think some teams are just deciding, say, for example, they just want to do Moto and they want to do Kitchen, not necessarily Stock all the time. Which is a little weird, because Stock used to be a big, important one, that hatch right there, not even being reinforced. So I guess he doesn't need to use it. But that used to be a good one because you could cover blue from above and get people that were trying to rotate out of church, for example, through the wall, the usual hole in the wall. So that way, if you push Moto, you can catch him from behind. But just not seeing that as much here, although this time one looks like he was covering Moto for a second. But they also didn't bring the buck, because remember, they didn't change their attacker lineup, so they're still going to be going without a lot of attacks coming through the floor there. Which
they just rely on the hatches pretty much.
It worked, though, last time. I'll give them credit for that. So we'll see if they can pull it off twice. I'm doubting it a little bit, but they at least were maybe smart about it, and maybe they'll be smart again, even if things change up.
All right, still attacking team just setting up on the outside, trying to find that entry frag, but there's still a minute 25 on the clock. They've got around 30-40 seconds to get themselves a bit ahead in the round. You see Novi's this time going to pressure a different angle all the way in the tunnel. So this will ease things for the Ying that's trying to drop, but it comes down to timing yet again.
I wonder if he knows the Ella's a little bit further up, too, because Ella's going to be a good counter for him in there. Smoke is also a good counter, but this barbed wire going to give away his position, make it easy for Ella there to win that fight.
GCR will get the kill, and he's watching for the second, but there's nobody there, and I don't think even anybody jumped through. This was all just smokes and mirrors, basically, that were thrown in to make sure that the Habana gets a kill out of it, but as I say that, yeah, Diogo just jumps on in and gets the plant. Not too sure. The Ella goes in for the run out, and GCR takes down one Yuna with the second, leaving only Diogo and one alive. They have to spray through the hallway. And still the Ella coming in, finally getting shot down here. GCR, a lot of ammo left in the mag, but not able to do it. FK1 will get the one and the second and clean up the round with a diffuser takedown. Nicely done by LANCHONETE to defend this one. Honestly, I didn't even hear that there was a drop from BRK onto the site.
Yeah, it was because you saw that when the Ella was about to be engaged, right? You saw the Candela's flash from behind.
They thought it was just a trick.
Yeah, and that was, I think he just timed it to hot drop earlier. Well, it's not really hot drop, but to drop with the Candelas because he's not blinded by them, and he's just dropping solo anyways. I think he just decided to do it earlier, and it actually paid off because he was able to get the plant down. But his team coverage was not there. That's the problem with trying to cover that as well, because you have to cover it from the hatch, or you have to drop down into some potential crossfire. It's dangerous to follow that up. Like we were talking about last night, you're overcommitting sometimes to one particular attack. And then Novi's getting himself killed early. Again, this has been problem time and time again, is getting himself killed early in the round by being the entry. At least he's doing his job first with his utility. But now we're going to see our first bar defense because of a BRK successfully defending the downstairs. But that was a really good defense last round. I definitely liked the execution of that. Ella doing a good job. Even with that peek out, I don't think they expected to get pushed from that. You don't usually get pushed from that dirt tunnel.
You don't usually have an Ella that is pushed up that far in, and I wonder what tipped them off.
Yeah, it just must have been a case they knew things were getting a little stalled out for them because they had diffuser planted. They were playing a little more cautious, and I think he played off of that knowledge. We'll see, though. We're seeing our first Fuse, which will be interesting, because I think Fuse actually is pretty decent for this attack. Personally, I would take Buck over Fuse, just because Buck's going to be a little more flexible in how you attack from that top, whereas Fuse won't always catch something. But I will say the Fuse is good at catching a lot of the utility that's placed around, so there's the, maybe not so much for kills, but for utility destruction and pushing people out of position, still very useful.
Barbed wire, forcing relocations from the defensive, the defense. There's a lot of utility in having the Fuse on the team the buff usually requires you to 100% hold that top floor, whereas having the fuse, just go in, lay down your fuse charges, and that's it. You can get out. Your job is done.
And Spawns, for example, could even cover. I mean, he's not going to because he's going to go in. But had he opened up the hatch above Jim. If you open the other hatch below that, say with the Habana, you can actually watch the angle from a plant on pool from pretty high up, where they can't come flank you. So you don't necessarily, as you said, have to maintain control of that Jim. It looks like they're going to go for it, though.
Yeah, Sludge just up there. There's nobody really contesting him.
At least they're taking cash room first to make sure there's no crossfires when they try and hold and take that bedroom. We do have a Legion coming out again from BRK. We'll see how that factors in. But Novice is going to be here to try and counter this. He's coming up a little bit late. Maybe he's not going to go all the way up. They could have put some Legion mines in there, though, to have some indication if the bedroom's been breached, if they wanted to go for a retake on it.
And really, Legion is the perfect counter to shields, for example, that might have been in play from LANCHONETE. I think maybe that was what was in the head of BRK. But you can still set it up in the usual plant spots for the attackers, just right in front of the door or to the side where you would usually see a plant on that piece. And here we go, pick straight to the head from GCR. Diogo will be the first one to go down on the Jaeger.
Nicely played. That's why you see Glaz play this stock like this. It can be a little risky because you don't have a face shield like Blackbeard, but there you go. Second tap from him. He's just clicking on people left and right.
Ella and Jaeger both down, leaving only the Val to smoke and the Legion. And Cyber's just sitting up in the bar. He's trying to find different angles to really not expose himself too much. And the smokes have been let in, so maybe this is the time to come in. There we go. The fuse is just going to make sure that there's nobody waiting for them on the site itself. And then maybe he might try to fuse from his own hallway down into the bar.
Yeah, and this could be a good place to just finally see that the Valkyrie cannon just looking right at him. Plant's gone down now. Fuse will be able to help cover that. Even if they go for it, he could even just cluster charge if he hasn't used them all.
I don't think he's used a single one, or like maybe one of them.
Yeah, this is going to be a good position for the attackers to be in. Not to mention man advantage.
Oh, shotgun from one right to the face of Spawns. Barely escaping this one with barely any HP left. GCR still eyeballing the site, but Cyber will get the kill on Revolts. 3 versus 3, but remember, the fuse, as Emzo was saying, has not used most of his charges just yet. PX looking for the run-up. Unfortunately, GCR is ready. GCR gets 2 more, and now the Valk is on her own, and FK1 will clean up Cyber. I believe that was
a 4K. Yeah, FK1 stole his ace there at the beginning just by being above him. I feel like GCR might have been able to get that too had FK1 not done it. But the combo between those two, you see it right there. But that ace with the glass from one position, that just showed they overexposed themselves way too often, that he was able to get that because they just weren't like able to counter peek him fast enough because he had that nice yellow highlight so that even if they tried to slow peek it, he'd just click on them. But that was also good gun skill and flicking on them very quickly. But that was a good to bring it up to a 2-2 here.
Now, having the glass means that if you're a defensive team, you almost want to, your priority is, I need to deny the enemy team from even planting.
Line of sights too, yeah.
Yeah. If they're planting, it's because there is line of sight that has already been prepped for the glass.
Yeah.
So we need to deny every single one of them. I think C4 play might have been an option here, but we saw none of it. So we'll see how LANCHONETE try to play around this. Now, they're going for spawns with the Valkyrie, so pretty much the same exact setup as we saw BRK using on the same exact defense.
Interesting, though, that we're going to see the Ying play here. Not sure how that's going to factor in. There are some spots to drop from if you wanted to use it for a drop, but there are also other ways to use the Candelas. It's just Diogo's, I guess, feeling pretty confident in it. And we're going to see just a Thermite instead of a... but that tends to mean that you're usually going to see a play from the strip club into the pool. However, there are strats to use it on the garage wall as well. But most likely we'll probably see pool push, especially with the Glaz in combination and then a Ying to be able to clear out the pool table, or even to actually use it as a cluster charge from above, just like Fuse, to hit down into the jukebox area to be able to stop a smoke or a, if there was an echo there as well from trying to counterplay it, or the Valkyrie to C4. It's not a bad idea if you can again take control of the top floors and get that access down. I could see Diogo having a plan for that to help his teammates push onto that pool plant. Assuming he doesn't blind his own teammates on accident with the Candela fuse.
Happens too often.
Absolutely.
Might have seen a run out there to try and get the kill on Cyber, but will not be the case. We've seen this in Pro League games where a lot of teams, especially, I want to say Penta and even ENCE, would love peeking through this exact same window over and over just to take down at least one of those attackers and then completely tilt the attacking team.
Interesting how slow they're approaching over there, trying to get to that garage. They're definitely concerned about a lot of these angles. But they're just being methodical about it, and this is what BRK beat MOPA. So I'm definitely liking seeing that on this attack. They're not just being crazy about it. They've got it. They've got control of this, opening the hatch that was not reinforced and probably should have been. But nonetheless, they obviously spent the reinforcements on other things. But now they've got top control there, and they could go with that the Ying play up there. But so far, Sledge doing Buck's job up here as well. He hasn't used his grenades yet, and those will be great, assuming the ADSs aren't there to stop him, to clear out that jukebox area that we're talking about. And he almost sees the person behind bar here.
God.
There we go.
Spots him, but a bit too late. Novice, pretty low on HP, but Spawns will be able to get one as well. That's PX down. No more Thermite to play.
Hopefully they open the wall already. Otherwise, this is going to be a bit of a kink in their strat.
LANCHONETE doing some work early on here in the round. Spawn's still rotating around. I'm not sure if he hears the one player that is behind him.
Looks like a lot of caution there for Valkyrie cameras from one. Concerned that his position is going to be given away for any kind of jump outs. Maybe they need a Claymore there on the garage door, but like the way he's timing that there, setting it up to go clear this out. In the meantime, though, FK1 falls, and that's a good, or I mean, gets the kill. That's another good kill from the attacker or defenders. Gosh.
One is trying to set up here, trying not to team kill, as the final Candela is going to get thrown in. And Ying might just come in. No, here we go. Smokes are going to be used from the attackers. At least Smoke's going to throw out his first canister as one tries to move in, but he's going to get shot from behind. Spawns jumping in. Double kill for Spawns on the Val, but he will get taken out. Unfortunately for Cyber, he cannot get the second one, and FK1 will come in to the rescue.
Yeah, they needed those Claymores. They needed two, one on garage door, one on that window, because you saw what happened there at that flank. And you saw that was what was the concern earlier from one. One, unfortunately, not as good at clicking as we saw from the other side. Was GCR just brutal with that glass rifle, not so much from there. We'll see if he can do it again. Now we're going to go back down to Arsenal, but now we've got the advantage to LANCHONETE here.
Yuna on the blitz.
Yeah, this should be interesting as well. Now, at least they're changing stuff, also bringing in Thatcher. So, are they? Yeah, they're going to go with Habana, but no Thermite. So, it'll be. I imagine Blitz is going to have to drop a hatch then, unless they're going to waste two Habanas to give him somewhere to walk through. Or he could just be going solo.
Go through the hall.
Yeah, he could just have fun, just death march. We'll see though. They do have some C4 on their side. They have at least one from PX, so he's going to be probably the biggest threat to that Blitz potentially. Other than flanks. Although there's also Diogo's little caltrops there to play with his feet.
But I'm expecting a lot of times we see the Blitz being played here by just walking down from the stairs into the engine room. This is, for me at least, seeing the usual side where you would see a Blitz going through. But this might be the thing that will catch BRK off guard, because so far you've had pushes through everywhere except for there. But already there is a setup from Mira and the entire side of BRK just in case.
That was that's an older style setup too.
Yep.
We used to see quite often that
like
stopped being played.
ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the big downside was to not do that, but in this case it seems like it's working, or at least it's going to work for them potentially. Now, interesting that we've got the Thatcher, but he's not really necessary for the current setup, and he may or may not have known that when he picked Thatcher. So it'll be interesting to see where those particular EMPs are used. It could help to clear out, for example, the Legion mines, so that Blitz could do his thing. But I doubt that it's going to be that coordinated, though.
All right, Spawns has taken control of the top floor, all the way up top. The rest of his teammates are just taking control of the bar area now. It's a bit of a really slow setup. They've just started getting into the site, and you see the drone running right in from Yuna, just trying to get some information for Spawns so as not to get immediately peeked here.
Definitely slow going, but at least they're making progress here. They have taken control thanks to there not being roamers, and I think they were maybe a little cautious about roamers in this case because they wanted to be able to march that blitz in, and it's hard to do if you've got to watch your back all the time. When they got no roamers here and they're controlling the ports of entry, you saw that Claymore on the stairs, for example, so no run-ups from there. That's going to make it easier for them to focus on a forward attack as opposed to having to watch their flanks.
Well, Spawn's still watching the front side as GCR is maneuvering around, and a single EMP is going to get used up and taken down by an ADS from the Jaeger.
Ironic, given that that would have been a good counter to the ADS had he been able to get it around it. Nonetheless, we still got at least one X-Cairo left here to be used. And then Yuna coming up late, not sure if he's just kind of rotating around and wasn't sure which way he wanted to approach from. But he might actually go to drop this hatch if they go to smoke in here, for example. They don't have that Ying anymore, but he could go for a drop in there because unless the wall's open to his side, he will be forward-facing for the most part and be able to cover his flanks.
But this relies heavily on the glass, or at least Yuna's teammates here, to look the other way, you know, look at the way, and you know, at least helping him from the other side.
Spawn's getting one, though. Taking down the smoke is going to help him tremendously.
Oh, here we go. Walks right in, but there we go. The Lesion Trap, forcing him just for a sec, but there is nobody to counter this, and Novi's will get the kill on Revolt, turning this into a 3 vs 4 spring through the smoke, hoping for a kill at the end of it, and the Mira as well. Yuna has already come in,
oh, the
and
timing.
he is just, oh my god, the timing on this. He just now sits on it for just a bit, and just gonna sit to the side. I don't think they can really do too much against them, but as I say, that crossfire perfect from BRK as Diego maneuvers just a bit to make sure nobody's watching from the top side. The Ashe already used her second charge on him. Do they even know that he's going for this? Mira gets kill number 1, and Spawns will save this out for just a bit. FK1 coming in and will get the second. PX will get shot down, and this is LANCHONETE winning up one more round.
They're definitely doing quite well on this, and this was BRK's pick, a map they thought they would be doing good on. We didn't see LANCHONETE play this map last time, so we weren't sure how they were going to do it, and they seem to have found their groove. It was a really excellent play by Yuna, I believe was right, on the Blitz. That drop was just, the timing was just barely there in his favor, though. That could easily have gone sideways on him, but he had landed on the Lesion Trap exactly like we were talking about before, right? Where you land on that and he's the planter, he can't plant. You almost need someone who's not the planter to land first, cover, and then drop the planter. But in this case, it worked out. They got the plant down. FK1 did save the day a little bit because the defenders were starting to make a comeback, but time wasn't on their side and they were having to play a little more aggressively than maybe they would have liked. And they also caught Glaz a little bit off guard when he was stunned. We are going to see first Frost, though, and that should be interesting when they're already 2 points up here. Maybe getting a little cockier, maybe really trying to surprise them for one last round to take this to map 2.
Yeah, and this is something that LANCHONETE have been really good at doing. Just, oh, that is a great spot actually for that Jumot mine, because nobody's gonna look all the way down there to the side.
Yeah.
And it means that even if you try to run in behind it, you will still get stunned for the second.
Yeah, the range on those things is brutal, and it just needs line of sight.
Yeah,
so.
and remember, it is still 7 seconds. You know, Ela has not been nerfed just yet, as we saw the patch notes come out tonight.
Yeah.
But there's, you know, you still have to live with these 7 seconds at least for now.
Yeah.
But the interesting part is that BRK just keep going for the exact same setup every single time, just with 0 change, and just
it did not work at all last time. No. It was very
last time and the one before and the one before.
It worked out. It worked out the one time. That's right, because they were able to get in, and the site was already softened up a little bit, and everyone was kind of busy, focused different directions. But that was fortuitous for them that time. No one reinforcing that. Definitely giving Novi's that extra X-Cairo every time. Maybe they must be counting the reinforcements and need it elsewhere, because otherwise, why not reinforce it? In this case, though, PX. Probably not needing to use those thermite charges, but I guess it's a nice backup because Novi's is most likely to just get himself killed here in the near future, as he has tended to do time and time again. I mean, obviously they're here now, so it's not a huge detriment to the team, but it is something they could improve, I imagine.
And now they see the entire setup. They know that there's a Frost on the defense of LANCHONETE, so Revolt has to get himself in a really good position. You know, this is one thing we were talking about, not just the utility. Kicks had this pretty good idea as well. Like, weapons are divided into 2 different things. There's the slow rate of fire, high risk, high reward weapons, where if you land the headshots because of that low recoil, then you will profit very much. And then you have the high rate of fire weapons that you can sort of spray through them, but at a cost.
You need to land the headshots.
Exactly.
So in this case, Novi's taking a different approach this time. Could catch ahead. Remember, we were talking about the stock hatch. He did blow the stock hatch this time, trying to get an angle from it, trying to take care of blue. Maybe he did see that. Did they have the mirror window there again?
Yes,
facing into blue?
It is from blue facing inside.
So this is his opportunity to do something with it. He may even have an angle to pop it if he hasn't already. Oh, no, that's right. It would be on the other side. Nonetheless, though, spawns with a C4 kill from below probably here.
And unfortunately, Diogo will be the one to fall. So this was the person, the Ying, that had the bomb in her, the diffuser in her hands. So Novi's this time not dying, taking one out, moving right next to that reinforced mirror wall. Just trying to spawn one player here, though. Novi's falling right into the Ella trap that was set to the side of this B site, taking more damage as we see Revolts getting the kill with the C1. PX still spraying in and will get the kill on Revolts, though FK1 is ready for him. Takes him out. One is the last man alive and gets the headshot onto GCR. 1 versus 2. Definitely doable, but there's still less than 10 seconds. And now he goes for that diffuser. Defenders very wisely not pushing until this very second, and FK1 nails the headshot, takes him out. LANCHONETE, ladies and gentlemen, taking map number 1 in this best of 5.
A great start for the underdog, coming in strong, showing just that they can pull it off time and time again. And BRK, as we were talking about, not adapting anything really because of that initial success that they had with that Ying drop, continuing to try it, and it's just not working out. I love that Jaeger style right there. Looks fantastic. You see spawns in FK1 and GCR, Yuna and Revolts maybe not even getting a chance to kill anyone just because of the sheer number of kills from those other 2 guys. We don't even see 8 kills among any of the players on BRK as well. But then on the other team, we're seeing 10, 10, and 8. You see why they won 5-2 there.
I mean, still
just well played.
This is Siege. This is strategy first, aim second, or fragging
It's
second.
a lot easier to be strategic when the other guy's dead.
Exactly.
Let's be honest.
But let's take a look at those kills through the highlights of map number 1 in this series. And this is one of the...
That's when Diogo succeeded that time.
And GCR still played very, very well on the glass, as we saw yesterday as well.
Absolutely. I think he was definitely the best glass here. Unfortunately for one was not up to the caliber as him, but GCR just, with an almost ace there, FK1 stealing it on that round, but he's just decimating people on that. And that door was not to be messed with. Spawns, though, with a great jump out that time, able to take it. Spawns had some great plays as well. That's why we saw him so high up. I believe he was the other 10 frags. I mean, maybe his Ash Rushes didn't know his work, things like that, but he also made it work, as you saw with Valkyrie, things like that. He was just on point with his gunfights today.
So this was map 1.
Yeah.
This is the map that we saw BRK picking.
Next map's LANCHONETE's.
Next map is Oregon.
Yeah.
And this is LANCHONETE's map, and this is exactly what we saw them play yesterday.
With a 5-0, nonetheless.
5-1, actually.
It was 5-1 on Consulate.
On Consulate?
Yeah, it was the second map. Yeah, they dropped 1 round on the second map.
That's right.
So this is, this is going to be, and then the question is, though, like you were talking about earlier, did they study the VODs, right? Did they see why it was a 5-0? It hasn't been a long time since then. That was yesterday. So they haven't necessarily had a huge amount of time to study that, if they have even looked at the VODs. Some teams just don't have time. Sometimes they may have just been prepping other stuff for today. Nonetheless, the prep or not doesn't guarantee that those same strats will work against this team. As I was saying last night, this is a very flexible map for players to adapt to different styles on, to go roam heavy or to go site heavy, turtle, attack from this side or that side. Just between the 2 sites alone, there's a lot of variability in play. BRK not adapting very well at all on Clubhouse. Need to do this on this map, or we're going to see another good, strong play from LANCHONETE.
One thing that I would like to talk about with you here is the Vigil pick. Because we saw him yesterday played, especially on that basement defense, where we saw Vigil starting off with a roam, and especially holding off the back tower.
Yeah.
And then moving all the way down onto the site on the basement, and just making sure a construction push wouldn't work. And that was an exact construction push that was coming down.
Yeah.
And he was able to shut it down with a 2-kill, believe, on the site itself.
Yeah.
So how good is Vigil so far? Because we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. And how sold are we on the idea?
Unfortunately, I think he, much like Frost was there, he's kind of, I wouldn't say a gimmick pick, but definitely a pick you can't continue to repeat, right? So, yeah, we've seen some successes with Vigil, but we're not seeing 2 successes in a row, 2 successes within the same map generally. You can pull him out, and it's great, but there's only so many ways you can use him in a given situation and given situational setups, things like that. It's a very big gamble, I think, to bring Vigil more than once, unless like you've got to have multiple strategies, right? That's for pocket strats kind of stuff. And that's why a lot of times we see him bring out more mid-match than at the beginning, for example, unless they're really just trying to throw off the initial attack strats. I think he has great potential, but so far, much like with Dokkaebi, we haven't always seen the execution there. We've just seen it kind of hit and miss. But there's a lot of time till Invitationals, and more than enough time for teams to look at what worked, what didn't, figure it out. I would expect to see some Vigil play at that, but I expect that teams need to really scrim it out and work on it before it will be strong. And we did see the mid-season reinforcements patch. For anyone who didn't see those are available online now. If you want to see what's coming in the near future, we don't know when yet, it will be on TTS tomorrow. For those of you who use the test server, you could try out some of the new stuff. But unfortunately, Vigil, Dokkaebi, Zofia, we're not really part of that except for Zofia's stun. So make sure to check that out so you see what's coming.
Yeah, because it is part of the Ela change, if you will, the Ela nerf.
Yeah, so that will be, I think, a big shakeup, but Vigil sadly not part of it.
Sadly. But honestly, I think it's just because teams already have the strategies. They just want to keep everything until the Invitational itself.
That's always a risky move, and one that I often see backfire on teams. Sadly,
especially the big teams. I'm looking at you, Ranger.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I didn't want to name names, but what can you do? Penta as well sometimes. But nonetheless, I think a lot of teams maybe have learned their lesson. You have to keep in mind, though, this is an off-season where we don't have 7 weeks of Pro League play. You just have these qualifying ladders, which is what you're watching right now, is this qualifier playoffs. And so that's mostly the chance they've had to work it out, which is, I think, part of the reasons we've seen so many shakeups is because teams are not really rusty necessarily, but so, like, they're a little out of their groove, so to speak.
Out of sync. They need to change something because they see maybe
they're certainly changing rosters.
Yes, I mean, maybe this is a psychological thing where you see teams thinking, well, the meta has kind of shifted. Do we need to shift within our team? And more often than not, a lot of the big teams will do that. And even basically everybody will do that.
It mostly worked out for BRK at least.
Well, unfortunately, not today.
Not map number one. We'll say that. But again, this is, BRK didn't 10-1 their opponent, but we know they're a team that are very strong. LANCHONETE did 10-1 their opponent, but we don't know how really strong that opponent was because they don't have as much history as something like BRK. I mean, again, though, BRK is a new roster for the most part. Nonetheless, though, I am very excited to see what goes down here on Oregon. Still my favorite map. Still always fun to watch. If some of you are sick of it, I'm sorry. It's got to keep getting played.
All right, well, let's head in and play it. So, Oregon map number 2 in the best of 5 coming right up. There we go. We're in game, and Yuna already on the blitz.
GCR back on that glass.
This is exactly what I want to see because this is a laundry defense. Blitz is going to be running in. You can see him. There's a couple things that you can do with the blitz here. Either you fight for the meeting hall and then try to drop in the back hallway right here where you see Novi's running around right here, and then you have the blitz in this position, or you have him basically as your mainstay, your head attack with a glass supporting him from the back. Now, usually you'd like to see a Ying helping him out, but Spawns has opted for the Ashe.
Yeah. You know what would be interesting to see is if, I mean, it's a long shot, but a lot of people forget that Mute Jammers jam Blitz's flash on a shield. And so that is something that, again, it's a long shot.
I have completely forgotten about this, by the way.
Because it rarely happens, but in such tight tunnels with so many choke points where Mute Jammers are getting placed, it's a possibility. We may not even see it if it happens on screen because, like, we might not be looking at the right player, but I just wanted to throw that out there because that would be pretty entertaining.
You'll learn something new every day. That's for sure.
Yeah. And this is where a situation where, as defenders, you definitely want to see if you could try and spot who the attackers are on the starting cameras, the default ones before the shutout. Because if you know there's a blitz coming, there's a lot more preparation you can do to try and counter that you might not do otherwise.
Now, the interesting part is that Spawns already sprayed through the main window on the top bedroom, and he saw the blood splatter. Here we go. He's going to spot the second, and Novi's will get dropped. So what BRK have done here is set 3 players up top, 1 in that attic, and then 2 on the second, the Jaeger and the smoke all the way up top in bedrooms.
It just unfortunately didn't work out for Ela, though, trying to run that act. You got to be cautious of that window.
Yuna comes in, doesn't even care about the
he's just roam clearing.
And there's still the Jaeger holding off in white stairs. The smoke all the way in the back, and he's going to throw one right into Yuna, who's going to fall back, and Cyber will get the kill onto FK1 and no more Sledge.
That was Yuna really taking advantage of the be able to sprint with the shield. Yeah, he wasn't charging at someone, but being able to sprint and quickly turn around and already have your shield up is a nice advantage there. Fortunately for him, these smokes are chipping away at him, but these are smokes that are not going to be used for anything else afterwards. So if nothing else, maybe he'll clear out smokes.
Right now, they're only really sacrificing the Blitz.
Yeah. So they better get the kill or this is really not going to pay off. Nonetheless, it hasn't, but it has burned up time. But you know, the rest of the attackers could be working on this. He's just doing this solo for the most part. So there's the last of those smokes. So smoke definitely not going to be useful down on sight at this point. He might as well just gunfight it out with SMG-11, but SMG-11, not a great counter to a blitz necessarily, unless you could catch him dropping that shield.
Definitely relying on the Mira that's on the site with a C4. So if, you know, shit hits the fan, if you will, that C4 is going to be the important part.
Yeah, and it's a case of if they make it that far, but so far it's looking like it. Yeah, there's only one off the board for either team, but the Ela being off the board is a bit more important than the Sledge being off the board, especially if he got to use his grenades first. GCR, though, getting set up potentially for an attack down here. He's going to call out, hey, that roof is open there, so come cover me. Make sure someone doesn't shoot me in the back when he's going for that push. That's a good call out there. Opening this up now, he can do some damage from above, but he lost a lot of health there from the explosion. Nonetheless, whiffs his shots, unfortunately.
Not too sure how that happened, and one will get the kill with the shotgun flashing right on in, but one is ready for him. Can't get the third one, unfortunately. Revolts will get the kill with the bearing 9.
Looking good for the defenders, though.
Still one player above them and one up below, and here we go. Cyber one
That's
more
what he
time.
called out for.
Revolts all on his own. Has to drop right onto the side, but Diogo is ready and nails the headshot. BRK putting out the round.
Well, we know for sure it's not going to be 5-0 from LANCHONETE against BRK on this map. So, well defended, good play by them, playing it smart most of the time. The shield was definitely a big pain for them at the beginning. Unfortunately, for the attackers, they weren't able to really get any kills with the shield. And burning up time as an attacker, not so useful compared to being a defender. So, it just, they weren't able to get a lot else going on at that time. And I think they might have been able to work that better if GCR had been able to land his shots, right? If you think about it, he'd been able to land his shots, he would have stopped 2 shotgun kills from that smoke, and they probably would have been able to make that work. Also, they might have had the manpower to cover his back, you know, when he got shot from above, from near the armory door, which is what he, you know, obviously intended for someone to do, but they lost the manpower to do so. So it sucks to think that, but missing 1 shot can change everything in a round, and you saw that there. I really think they could have won that round had he landed that shot. However, I will not give GCR too much flack because he showed with a near ace on Clubhouse that he does have that skill, and he hits a lot more of the shots than one does.
Now, the interesting part is that BRK are bringing in the Capital for Diogo, and I'm not sure how they're going to set up that Capital. Is he going to be all the way in the back of the tower and then just lobbing bolts into the bedroom?
I mean, it's pretty common. You don't want him up and close, right? Because you have plenty of range with an arrow. You don't need to be like, oh, I've got to be closer. He can really take advantage of a long line of sight, because generally you want to hit between the 2 windows, which is not too hard to do when you're aiming at the left window, as long as you can hit the floor right there. And it's got a decent range on that fire. So unless someone gets lucky with the way the fire spreads, chances are you're going to be able to clear them out. Novies, as I was saying before, will tend to go in with this twitch, and we saw him do it multiple times last night, kind of breach in, get some good map control, and then kind of lose it because his team's not there to back him up. I do hope they've changed that up. I would like to see him get in and do some damage with that gun before dying. But that was, I hope that was for barbed wire, because that definitely would have worked on the window there.
Alright, Novi's just watching that main window and the white stairs rotation, just in case somebody from LANCHONETE wants to go in for a quick peek and jump out on the attackers there.
I hope if one's going to be watching that window later on that he's on top of his game this time, because that is an important window to be watching carefully. PX, so at least trying to make sure there's no one hanging out in small tower to kind of shoot him in the back.
Yep, the rest of all, though, it's just coming in, droning, taking down the ADS, but Novi's loses out his 2nd shock drone.
That right there is why 5 shots with a shock drone is not going to matter that much.
Yeah, actually, that is a very good point.
It's going to get shot half the time after doing its main job anyways. Nonetheless, Diogo actually inside, underneath in the kitchen, a surprising place to play from what we were talking about earlier in his utility with using the fire arrows. Not sure how he's going to be able to use those from down below. Nonetheless, he could actually shoot up from below to that same spot and not need to use any fire arrows, so could be for the same thing. PX, though, this is always a bad idea when you're stuck in a situation where you have to watch a window like that. You're using a lot of utility, but Novi's at least gets 1 kill thanks to FK1 being a little too brave, so Novi gets a freebie there.
Yeah, running out the balcony does not always work, and that is one of those examples where you always leave one player behind you to protect your back. And here we go, kill number 2 from Diogo. BRK on top as Yuna will get shot down.
That's the first castle we've seen, too. Oh.
C4 coming right in here.
Diogo
Not
right
gonna
nearby too.
Won't find anybody in the kitchen though. As I say that, GCR will get one. Novi's moving bit by bit onto the site. The mirror wall has already been opened in the back thanks to his drone from before, and he gets the mirror kill. Revolts gets shot down. One will get the second, leaving only spawns alive on the Bennett. Now moving in from the main staircase up top. Don't know where he is, but he's only able to tag the Capitao as Diogo turns around, nails the headshot, and cleans him up. BRK, round number 2 on the board, and completely different to what we were expecting.
Yeah, they are definitely playing this very smart. You saw even Novi's not trying to go in too early, getting some kills there. He got, I believe, 2, and that worked out very well in his favor because he didn't push in too far too fast. Stayed back a little bit, got that 1 kill outside, and then another one inside. Capitao actually not using any of his arrows, just kind of fighting it inside. Maybe he's looking forward to that para buff that we're going to see coming soon, and practicing early with that gun. Nonetheless, that was a good second round from BRK. Now it's going to be dorms here for them to try and defend after successfully defending Laundry.
Here we go. Round number 3. In prep phase with PX going for Amira, Novice with the Ella, Cyber with the Jaeger. We're going to have Diogo on the Val, and of course one yet again on the smoke. I'm hoping that we see those smoke shotgun plays yet again because
wow,
definitely exciting. That's
3 kills among all of LSX there. Not a great start when you've got 3 kills alone on one and Diogo, each of them equaling it. So frag-wise, we're definitely seeing a lot more from LANCHONETE, and that's why they're winning these rounds.
And yet again, we'll see Yuna on the blitz. And I want to see how they change up the attack from last time, because if you saw it kind of opened himself up to too many angles at the same time.
Well, that was when they were kind of walking around the top floor. Now that they've got attack that as the bomb spot, I do think we'll see it a little bit differently.
Maybe main staircase would be the...
Yeah, there's 2 different staircases you can come. Yes. I would think, yeah, the main staircase up to the armory door, probably a better bet than coming of white stairs because of the barbed wire and all that. However, that is a nice choke point. You don't have to worry about your back, because if you come up the other way and there is someone in armory, you've got to get rid of them first. You've got to make sure master bedroom's clear as well. So there's a lot of flank potential, whereas white stairs, you're pretty much coming straight up all the way to where the defenders are. FK1, though, nearly getting some people inside.
Spawn's going all the way to the upside on tower, and just making sure nobody's sitting in here. And Yuna might just be walking in right up top to go into attic and then move on.
He could also be going to clear the downstairs as well. He's a good roam clearer like this, so it looks like they'll probably use him that way to start with, and then maybe rotate him up. Does look like there is someone on the other side of this basement you could contend with soon. Just got to clear everything as much as possible. The old face check. Spawns with him to actually execute the kills, though. I like the combo. You've got someone that's got the gunpowder and someone's got the shields. Although probably you should let the shield go in front of you, and that's why.
Here we go. Diogo taking so much damage and easily going to get cleaned up for Yuna, though. Losing spawns should not have happened.
Sacrifices, but nonetheless, at least the first kill on the board for Yuna. Feeling good about that blitz. Spawns maybe should slow things down a little bit. Hard to do as a 3-speed, right? You don't want to walk as slow as a blitz.
And GCR staying all the way to the back with the glass.
He's definitely hoping for someone to give themselves away. Doing that too far into the round, though, is generally a mistake. However, there's still a minute 30 left. Plenty of time for this to happen, and only 1 person dead on either side. Still plenty of time for things to shake up here. I like this angle, though. Hoping he can catch someone coming down that hallway. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. The old marching blitz here.
Marching to the beat.
The beat down that he gave on Diogo.
That is very much true, but still 4v4, minute remaining, and there is still a smoke alive on BRK. And within the next 15 to 20 seconds, that smoke is going to be extremely more difficult to take down. And as I say that, one will start things off the flurry, taking down FK1, and then immediately smoking right on the diffuser that's been dropped.
Oh, just barely dodged that mine.
Goes, gonna move in, just through right into the smoke. Flashes the first and gets the second one as well. Double kill for Yuna, but he'll finally get taken down by PX, leaving it in a 2 versus 2. GCR taking down the ADS and then moving in bit by bit. They need to rely on him, keep him all the way back to support Revolts, but there's 20 seconds remaining, and this is the time to get moving. Oh, Cyber, nicely done, getting the kill. GCR can't hold off the second angle against him. And now all that he can do really is just sit back and play deathmatch at this point. Second Ella mine and even another one opening right onto him, and PX cleans him up with the Vector. Just Easy defense at the end there from BRK, really shining on this map.
It's unfortunate, too, because I feel like they might have been able to make a master bedroom plant pretty well, but the aggressive plays from one on that smoke really paid off because they were able to push them back. Unfortunately for them, though, Yuna coming in for 2 more kills after that first one was really well played. Unfortunately, the attackers just not capitalizing on that fast enough, because that could have really turned the tide in their favor. But you had people, for example, you had Revolt stuck down at the bottom of the white stairs, missing his shot when he had the opportunity, and that was him not being able to do anything effective to back up what Yuna had started. That was a big part of it not working out, because they could have been set up for that master bedroom push still, with Yuna pioneering the way and could have traded the 1 kill onto him. But nonetheless, that is what it is. But what it is so far is BRK up 3 points. And making up for lost time from last map, to say the least. We're going to see that Vigil we were talking about as well from Revolts here. We'll see if that comes into play or not. Again, that is kind of a pocket strat, not one you're going to see early on usually, because you do it when you're changing things up. And this is desperate times here when you're down 3 rounds. This is the time to pull out something like that if you think you have something that will work against BRK in particular.
All right, well, Yuna opening up both hatches here, won't be reinforcing them, all of them actually. Not usually the thing you would see. You would usually see all hatches reinforced, but in this case,
there are definitely teams that will open up one of the meeting hall hatches to be able to rotate down at the end, so that way they can defend meeting hall. And that's when you have a good meeting hall defense. But you can see they've set up a lot of reinforced walls. Usually you combine that with a castle, which they don't have, but nonetheless that is their escape route. You don't need to open 2 in there though. That's for sure. Just 1.
Yeah, they're definitely focusing on holding off the kitchen via that mirror wall, and then just making sure, because you have to go through a double entrance into the meeting hall from main hall.
Always risky to do so, because you don't know which entrance to go through.
Exactly.
That's why the castle makes it even harder, because they can't even see into there until they clear that. They are playing it smart, though, covering it from multiple angles. Cyber coming in from the church side, PX coming from the front door, and then it looked like, I think, Novi's coming from the garage side. They're really looking at all angles here to try and approach this meeting hall.
But this is the standard setup of where this is a meeting hall push.
Yeah.
This is a main hall push, excuse me. You have the Capital, you have the glass, and the Capital is going to shoot the bolts into the back, so the mirror or the smoke can't really maneuver. You have one on the glass going to be looking down, making sure nobody's rotating for the main hall, and then you'll have PX and Novi's most probably holding off from the back. Unfortunately, they're missing the shot on the mirror wall.
That would have made a big difference, especially with Capital in play here. Being able to shoot the fire through that window really makes a big difference. However, Novi's still going to try and see if he can get some frags through here using that soft wall. Fortunately for him, nothing coming out just yet. But he isn't, like I said earlier, he isn't doing the rush in and die sort of thing. And I think that's better for them. And obviously, they're 3 rounds up because of it. Well, partially because of it.
Well, Novi's now going to be moving in. PX is the one holding the diffuser. They're waiting. There we go. Hibana charges already been set on the wall on the side, have not been used just yet.
Interesting.
And they're trying to maneuver around to make sure that these defenders don't walk right into them. And PX making it all the way to the other side of laundry plant, opposite to the laundromat. Cyber hitting the shots, taking down 2, and Novi's will get 1 as well, leaving only Spawns alive. Perfectly executed attack from BRK. Spawns only getting 1, and now gets the second. Cyber has been shot down. 3 more remaining on his own, though. And the glass is still up. The Capital finally uses his bolts, making it so much more difficult. And as I say that, Diogo will get shot down. C4 is going to get thrown, but won't really hit anybody as the glass is still up top. You hear the C4 from the dead Mira before. It doesn't really do much in this fashion. Doesn't really know where the opponents are, and he barely has any time here. Still 2 more to take out, and very smartly played from BRK. They pull back and they force him into the fight. And Spawns will still get the kill on 1. However, it was a trade, and this puts it up 4-0 for BRK.
You got to give Spawns credit. He got the only kills in that round, and he got a 4K.
Yeah.
He almost clutched it, but that glass playing so far back really baited him out. That was smart, because they could have, covered the diffuser, but they read into the fact that Spawns was going to try and push.
So they pushed back.
Yeah, so they just stayed back, and that was very smartly played on their part. Yeah, that could have backfired, but they had enough time to play with to see, okay, he's not pushing, and adjust.
Because, you know, there you're coming up as a bandit. You have the meeting hall door. You have the school door, you have the door leading from kitchen, the hallway itself, you have garage, you have the staircase on the side. You have so many places to check honestly, I'm surprised he was even able to turn around and get the kill on the glass before getting traded.
But he was just really in that moment where he's just super tense, like focused. Yeah, I bet just insane tunnel vision right there and playing it super cool. We are going to see Yuna on that shield again, but this time we're going to see spawns on the Jackal. That'll be interesting to see if they're able to actually get something out of that. It's a little risky sometimes to do just because catching those footprints, sometimes you have to get kind of far in to be able to catch some of the roamers on here. If there even is roamers, sometimes they just turtle up downstairs, and then your pings are just telling you, okay, they're downstairs where I expected them. Yeah. So not always useful, but this is definitely a map where roamers factor in. So looks like Novi's setting something up there, tapping all these windows, getting ready. I got to give Novi's credit as well last round, as I was talking about him not getting killed early. He also got at least 2 kills before getting taken down himself. So that was a great round for him. Just playing it a lot smarter and not trying to get inside. Yeah, Yuna, though, with the diffuser here, I'm not sure that that's the best choice. Just because he can be a bit slow on that. Usually want someone to run in fast on the plant for downstairs, but he does have the advantage of throwing shield on the back while he does it. So if he goes safe for that corner plant, he could do so. And the shield might even shield a little bit from C4 if he's on the washing machine, for example, but that's
Here's the thing.
iffy.
At that point, why not just, if you're getting him really for the shield, why not just go for a Monty? Because Legion has not been played so far.
Yeah.
You're not really worried about having him.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Yuna likes Blitz, though, and so.
It is fairly obvious at this point.
Yeah, I think most of the time, though, you usually see the diffuser being carried by Hibana, and that's going to be carried in. However, no one holding the diffuser at the moment, I think. So maybe they're deciding to change that up a little bit, deciding Yuna should be the one carrying the little briefcase down there. Nonetheless, though, a lot of droning coming out here. They're trying to clear the map as quickly as possible to give themselves extra time on this attack to be able to actually get control. Novi's, though, already starting things off on spawns. That's that Jackal down, face-checking bullets. Not going to be a good way to find the roamers.
Yuna moving in, though. Remember, the Jackal has been taken down, as you're saying. So, honestly, I think the whole thing just relied on spawns because they've been flanked and had to fight so much against the roamers so often that they're like, you know what, let's just get Jackal.
Yeah.
Let's just see what we can do. And unfortunately, did not pay out, so it gets really zero utility out of the Jackal here.
Brave Yuna trying to pioneer their push down here, trying to shoot some utility at least, takes out the mute jammer. Looks like so Revolts can do his thing. Must have been actually working pretty well because now you hear the hatch getting blown finally, now that he's taken out that jammer. Probably didn't need to do that, probably could have just hit on the corner, not needed to take out the mute jammer, but nonetheless, they did get it done. Unfortunately for them, though, only a minute left, and they've already lost one of their attackers. No defenders down. They're all turtling up. 5 men downstairs are going to be a tough push ahead of them here.
Yo, first smoke grenade is going to get thrown, and the second one as well, forcing the smoke to pop. And this is a 43-second double smoke play from one. Diogo, though, will get taken out, I believe, by a Claymore. As Yuna comes on in, C4 is going to... Well, is not going to really do much against them, but GCR gets 2 for himself. And that's the Ella taken down as well as the smoke, and now the Jaeger as well. Only the Blitz and the Jackal taken out for LANCHONETE, though. GCR coming in. PX will be able to get the refrag, though. He is the last man alive with barely any HP on the board, and the plant will go down. Remember, there's still Volts all the way up top, helping out his teammate just in case. He's going to get sprayed down with barely any HP left. So he'll have to go through the second. The Twitch just falling back and turns around to the ITS. It is getting that desperate, ladies and gentlemen. And PX wants to clean this up here, 5-0, but I think, already the Twitch trying to utilize that drone to take him out. Very close side angles. They know he's very low on HP. They know that they just can't play the angle game against him. And that's the first angle. FK1 takes him out. Just a quick spray through the destructible wall into the main staircase.
First round on the board for LANCHONETE, though, was a bit of a scrap between those two. It was a situation where it looked like defenders had the advantage, but they obviously squandered it. They did manage to stop Yuna from planting, and that should have been all they needed to do. But then by the time that it actually come to get the second plant, they were down to just PX, and they lost way too many gunfights for having 5 people down there. They should have had all the angles to their advantage, and it was just really good gunfighting by the attackers.
I think it's one thing. They forced the smoke to use 2 canisters, very at least one after the other.
To be fair, though, the third one is the one that did the job and got the kill.
But if would have been timed better, because I believe the first one got a bit too close forward to the smoke instead of hitting all the way back where the attackers would be coming from. and that forced him to use the second one because he saw he wasn't really doing much.
On the upside, he did do quite a bit of damage to Yuna pushing through that smoke because Yuna actually got a little bit extra damage because he didn't walk down the stairs properly. He jumped down them, and that caused a little bit of animation delay before he could start moving again. One of those little tiny things you don't necessarily think about, but jumping off something that's even a foot high can suddenly throw off your sprint there because he wasn't in a position to go down slightly more to the left and get down the stairs and took more damage as a result from the smoke. Nonetheless, he did almost get had the third smoke not hit him, almost get the play down. GCR being brave, but unfortunately doesn't let you. He almost lost his own life there. Gotta be careful. Revolt's though bringing out the Vigil again, so they're trying it one more time here.
We'll see how they play him out. Will it be an extremely defensive Vigil? That's the thing I'm looking forward to. Though Novi's will start this one off and take down GCR.
Oh,
you know, don't even try to spawn campus.
Yeah,
because we'll take you immediately.
Good punish, knowing that he might rotate around to the other side after that, because that's what you do when you go for a spawn peek, right? You usually rotate off and give yourself some distance from that spot. Red right into that, and second kill from FK1. Definitely going to help the defenders try and clean this up.
Yep, Novi's does get shot down. Of course, no more Twitch to be used. So Amir is going to get much stronger as well. So ADS, those bandit batteries, and the mirror. There's no Thatcher to be played from BRK. This makes it a lot more complicated for them now to push.
Yeah, it gives a bit of an advantage to Yuna and spawns.
They're going to have to try and force an aggressive LANCHONETE here.
Yeah, I mean, they already kind of did in GCR in a way, but yeah, that was 2 kills down within the first minute. Was not a great start for either team, but at least it kicked things off. Yeah, right? Not unusual for this side. So now they're going to have one on the glass, though. He, despite being not as effective generally as GCR has been, they are way ahead in points here. So even if he's whiffing some shots here, we still could see them easily take this. If they're able to play off the fact that GCR is dead now, that means a lot less roam presence, so they could take a lot more map control. However, Cyber still being cautious nonetheless, not wanting to do that too quickly, despite being a 3-speed.
All right, Cyber in control of the top side. At least one part of the bedrooms is all his. PX is joining in for him. Just taking some notes on where the positioning of the reinforcements are, as well as the utility. Cyber just chucking in some flash, excuse me, just to try and take down some ADSs there. Just
now they
really fill out the position.
They have the Hibana with the diffuser, which says to me they're going to go for master bedroom push here. And you see it already opened, but they've got to get some smokes in here, something else going on. And unfortunately, losing Cyber right there means they need Diogo to come in with those smokes. And a Mira shotgun from below was not what you expected to counter you, and it caught him off guard. Yeah. Diogo, though, is at least trading it back. There's that Capitao we need.
And Diogo, as we're saying, gets one and leaves. Oh, there we go. Okay, Spawn's running in with a bandit taking down one, so no more glass to play around with. And those smokes suddenly become basically useless, and PX taking... What? Oh, okay, team damage should not be happening there. All right.
I think that was a misfire, managed to hit. Maybe he hit him in the back, actually. Nonetheless, hits him in the back for sure that time.
Now 1 versus 2, Diogo moving in, checking the bedroom, and will get taken down by Revolt. Says, obviously, he is playing the Vigil, and the ERG just cloaks him off the drones, and any drones that they really used around 30 seconds ago still was more than enough to clean them up.
Trying to fight from that one direction right there with the Capitao and Hibana was literally playing with fire. They should have at least had one go flank around from the other side, because you saw them, like I probably hit him with the first fire arrow. He probably went to shoot it, and the Hibana ran right in front, got hit by the arrow, which makes it spawn the fire right at his feet. A situation like that is unfortunate because he can't push in through the door. He can only go back, and he's going to go back right into Capitao, who then shoots him in the back of the head. So unfortunate, Capitao was not only late, he did get 1 kill, but not only late, but he also killed his teammate. And losing the Glaz there, as you said, Glaz should have been able to just sit there, and they should have been able to push from the other side and had the Capitao smoke off the double bunks there for that plant through the master bedroom, because they had it open. It just was, and maybe they were just too cautious about doing that because of the Mira down from below with a shotgun. They decided, oh, maybe this is risky to go in from that way. We need to push from the other way. But 2 people, not the right way to play it. Unfortunately, cost them their chance at stopping this map here at 5-1. Still, they've got a 2-point lead, though, more than enough time to make up for that. And Yuna back on that blitz. Could try and do that.
I think the previous round really relied on Yuna getting the kill on the glass.
Yeah.
Taking him out means that BRK do not have anybody to just hold off the hallway and you know, split push.
Yeah, that really fell apart because of that. But also, I think Capitão needed to be up there a little bit earlier to try and get that push going in, because Mira might not have been able to get that shotgun kill without being able to see as clearly through the smoke, although it's hard to say. Could have seen some feet maybe go through that smoke.
All right, well, now LANCHONETE, as you're saying, going for Yuna on the blitz. Really want to see how he plays it up, because previously on this sort of attack, it did not work out at all for him. And oh, GCR, oh, because that slide can kill you.
Yeah.
That slide, it happens sometimes if you get on an odd angle on that slope, and you just fall all the way down and die.
It looked like he was being a little cautious for that reason.
I think we were casting that game where it actually
happened.
I think that was a long time ago. But
fun times.
Yuna moving in here with the blitz, trying to find somebody near the white stairs in the back.
A lot of gunfire going off, but no one's dying just yet as they're trying to clear out the roamers, it sounds like. Yuna going to be the face of that as he pushes in. He's done his job for most of it. He's going to push upstairs now. FK1 doing some droning to help him out with that, to see what's on the other side of his push, give him some idea what he's walking into. As I said, going up with that shield right there, pretty nice for the white stairs, but the obviously counter to that being smoke.
There we
go. First kill.
Revolts gets kill number 1, and even the second from GCR. LANCHONETE are coming back hard into this game. Both the Bandit and the Ella have been shot down, and PX sets up his second hero wall as one jumps right.
Diogo again?
Diogo, no! Kicks down 1.
He's getting a talking to after this game.
I don't think there was any communication telling him, oh, I'm going to just, you know, shotgun and drop down from behind, and he thought it was an opponent.
Now it's 5v2. They've certainly given up their lead. We're looking like this could slowly crawl its way towards overtime at this rate. Unfortunate for them. They might be a little tilted at this point. I know if I was Diogo, shooting those drones would even be hard with how frustrated I'd be.
Oh, here we go. Gets shot down by FK1, and PX all on his own. C4 out, can't really do much. And who's going to run right into him? It is Yuna, everybody's favorite blitz.
Everybody's favorite blitz.
Honestly, there are 2 players in Latin America that really abuse the blitz as much as possible. 1 is Yuna, 2 is Julio. Yeah,
Yuna definitely showing why they may be persisting with it. So I'll give him credit for it, continuing to work here. So far, we went from a very nice, comfortable lead for BRK to slowly losing it due to a lot of mistakes here. They really need to kind of take a breath. At this point, if I was them, I would almost hope for a rehost, just to be like, whoa, 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 calm down, calm down. This is a situation where, like, you definitely do not want to do that on purpose.
Definitely don't do that.
No, please don't. Nonetheless, though, they need to kind of take a breath here. They're on attack, right? So they have a moment to breathe because they could do their drones, get some initial drones set up. Unlike defense, they don't have to scramble. So this is the time when you could talk for a second, think things out, call out what you see in terms of the defenders. Whoever the shot caller is on the team, the IGL, can kind of like, all right, guys, we have this. We just have to win 1 round. We can totally do that. Just calm down, Diogo. Stop shooting your friends. We can make this happen.
Primarily, Diogo. Stop.
Yeah, let's start with that.
Say it again.
Step number 1, Diogo, stop shooting your friends. Step number 2, shoot the other people instead. He is back on that Capitão, though, and I imagine he will try and not shoot fire into people's backs and make this happen. So they gotta be careful. Revolt's trying the Vigil for a 3rd time, but hey, they're actually coming back, so I will not knock it. Seems to be working to an extent.
I think the thing that's going to save LANCHONETE here is Revolt's on the Vigil. This is, now I'm sold on it. Now I see it. I have seen the light.
You're not supposed to see him. Anyways, yeah, I think it's been interesting, nonetheless.
So here's the thing. This is an entire setup from BRK to open up through the main hallway, right? So through the main hall. Which means they're probably going to let go of the meeting hall.
Yeah, and they're going to have to let go of some of upstairs in the process as well.
And, well, the best thing to have in this case is either at least 1 roamer all the way on the top floor, or a Vigil in this case, because you're coming down. You don't really know what's going on. You're relying on your drones. So if timed correctly, having that Scrambler work correctly for Vigil would be very much a game saver.
Yeah, because they're definitely going to have to use those drones, like you said. They can't be face-checking this, and they don't have Jackal or something else to be able to solve it, because obviously Jackal can catch him out. That is a good counter to Vigil. However, nothing really happened so far within the first minute. They're really getting into positions. BRK playing it slow because, hey, maybe we should win this one, guys, so we can move on to the next map. It's starting that off Novi's, who has been on a roll today, taking down FK1, one of the top players on the other team. Maybe this could happen, and this could work here if they could just stay calm like this. So far, doing fantastic with that.
Hibana charges are going to get used up. Open it up from schoolroom. And of course, opening up
Didn't look reinforced.
It was not reinforced, actually. No, it was not. That's very odd. I think they just relied on reinforcing the meeting hall.
Yeah, they might not have the extra ones because they know it's just going to get opened by Hibana anyways. Nonetheless, so far push is starting to come down here. A minute in, or 2 minutes in, minute left. PX has the diffuser right at the bottom of the stairs, and the Glad's got the smokes up. This is the time for the plant to go down.
They need to run on in. Novi's gets the kill on Yuna, though. And there's 3 remaining, though. Here he's right in front of him. The Vigil standing right on the diffuser. Almost saving the day for him. Finally, Spawns will get the kill on 1, but he is the last man alive versus 3. Can he turn this one into a save as we saw before? Takes down 1, a very low on HP, rings that Nitro Cell, but can't get the kill. Barely any health left. If he only had saved that C4, it would have been perfect here. All he needs to do is watch the diffuser. An important part is Diogo setting up with the Capitao. Needs to get up top and already use those crossbow bolts, but no, they're going to be running in. I think this can be a very big mistake. He goes in for the first one and then just falls back. 13 seconds on the clock. Moving right in. Spawns goes in, but the double peek. Cyber picks him up, and BRK will take map number 2 narrowly at 5-3. This was a much more exciting map than first one.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely more of a comeback there, as well as it being one more round, at least longer, it being 5-3 versus 5-2. Nonetheless, though, we saw a lot of mistakes during that round even between the teams, but in the end, they came out ahead. Spawn's nearly making it work, though, using that mirror window that was still up, thankfully. That was his big saving grace. Fortunately for him, he was up against too much there. Capita didn't even have his bolts going, and that could have even made it that much harder, so it was a very valiant second attempt for Spawns to try and clutch that out, but nonetheless.
Yep, let's check out the highlights just to make sure where Spawns and his team, well, really went wrong, if you will, at some point. And there was an attempt here at a run out. Unfortunately, it did not really work out at all.
Novi's, I wouldn't say he was necessarily my MVP, but I felt like he played so much better on this map than what I was criticizing him for before. He was not doing, and Yuna didn't always work, but when it worked for Yuna on that shield. Great round for BRK, that one. Spawns with his first clutch attempt here. Going ham, got a 4K that round. Unfortunately for him, not an ace.
Trading it, unfortunately, here at the end. Look at the amount of angles that Spawns needs to look through, and he immediately goes for the headshot and cleans up the Hibana.
Oh, there was that unfortunate round there. Diogo, the start of the downfall for BRK for a moment before coming back and winning it in the end.
There, the Vigil almost surviving at the end. Unfortunately, it was not enough to clean up the round, and we saw Spawns even on the Bandit, as you're saying, was not ready for it. So, we end up in a 1-1 after the first 2 maps.
Means we're going to see at least 4 maps, if not 5.
So it's definitely possible to go all the way on map number 5. So, let us take a quick break because we're going to switch around. We're going to take a night off, if you will. Watch the games from the other side of the studio whilst Kicks and Interrobang come in here and finish off this game. Hopefully, it'll be as exciting all throughout as it has been during the stream.
I hope it goes all 5.
All right, so that is it from us. Remember, this is a best of 5, potentially 3 more maps coming in. We'll be back in just a bit.
welcome back to Rainbow Six Siege. We are doing the Rainbow Six Invitational Playoff Finals for LATAM Latin America. My name is Parker Intero Mackay, and I am joined, as always, by Michael Kickstar Stockley.
Well, not as always.
That's true yesterday.
As sometimes.
As most times.
Most times.
Most times.
And we are doing a pickup here from the BRK and LANCHONETE match. It's going to be 1-1 so far, and the map will be picking up after, once we start up again, is going to be Chalet. A very close attempt at a comeback that we just witnessed from LANCHONETE, but from LANCHONETE, but ultimately wasn't enough.
No, and Diogo on BRK was certainly trying his best.
Diogo
to ensure that it went the distance.
Yeah, Diogo had some unfortunate TKs in that match. The fire arrow and then just shooting his teammate for no conceivable reason, but it's okay. It happens.
Yes.
We all make mistakes in the heat of the moment, and I mean, when you're losing so many rounds over and over and over again, it can really get to you.
Right.
I mean, that was 3 rounds in a row for LANCHONETE. So you have to expect he was thinking to himself, okay, I need to hit all the shots. I need to hit him fast, and he certainly did onto that falling smoke. But it's a teammate, so unfortunate.
Wrong color.
Wrong color. But there was also some other interesting things that happened in that match. We did see Yuna play a lot of blitz. And as we saw Emzo, or we listened to Emzo, he touched on it, is it sometimes worked for him, it sometimes didn't. But it was interesting to see a player so fervently forcing that out. We don't see an operator like Blitz who ultimately brings very little utility, similar to like Vigil, for example, on defense. We don't see that operator often forced out by one specific player. Sometimes we'll see it here and there, but seemed to be Yuna's sort of deal, as he just wanted to play Blitz.
We saw a lot of him on Blitz yesterday, though, against MyP. So I mean, or MyP, depending on how you pronounce their name.
Right.
And he was using it a lot. And I mean, in Latin America as a region, we also see a lot of Blitz on Oregon. Of course, I feel that the way that Oregon is built as a map, not a lot of opportunities for you to attack from above or below. It's very easy for Blitz to just kind of tunnel himself in, and you have to take the 1v1 engagement. It's very difficult. And Blitz is a monster in 1v1 right now, especially with the fact that he can gallop, and with the changes to the sights of the pistols, makes it a lot easier for him to secure kills. I
mean, if you're coming from like a construction push on the bottom of Oregon, coming in through the tunnel, and somebody holding at the end of the defender side of tunnel, then you just kind of shift W into them. There's not much that they can really do about it, and it's hard for them to get a crossfire because it's just an overall bad situation. But so Clubhouse did end up going in favor of LANCHONETE. If you did not get to catch that, Oregon went in favor of BRK, but it was so close to being a LANCHONETE comeback. It was, BRK up 4 rounds, and then 3 in a row from LANCHONETE, inches away from overtime. They could have had that last round too. I mean, even if the Bandit had 1 HP, he still had a mirror window. It's just, unfortunately for him, BRK came together in the last couple seconds and managed that comeback.
It's nice that we've already had a competitive start, though. That's really good. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where these are, a blowout, especially in the finals. And of course, this is a big, impactful game. The winner goes to the Invitational in Montreal. BRK, as an organization, has been to a number of lands, but
they've been around.
With this roster, not necessarily. And then as for LANCHONETE, or LANCHONETE, depending on how we pronounce it on a whim, most of their players, to the best of the knowledge, most of their players, if not all of their players, have never actually been to a Pro League LAN. They have been to LAN in Brazil, in their home country, but never representing on Pro League. I could be wrong.
They've been around. Revolts and Yuna and Spawns, those three, I mean, especially. FK and GCR are no slouches either, but overall, they've been in competition for a good long time. So it's possible if we're not recollecting at this moment. But we are going to get into the map. It's map number 3 here in this best of 5, and it will be Chalet as we load up.
Predictions here for both of these teams and the way they've played. We saw Clubhouse, and then we saw Oregon. When you see Chalet, what is your call?
Honestly, if BRK lost on their map pick, which was Clubhouse, and then LANCHONETE lost on their pick, which was Oregon. So honestly, I don't know. It could be the case that this goes in favor of LANCHONETE, considering this was BRK's pick, or maybe this is actually what BRK really wanted to get themselves to. I mean, in a best of 5, you have so many more options, so you would think that your first picks are your most preferred maps, but clearly that's not the case in this situation. Now, we are going to see right off the bat BRK defending the bar and gaming room, which is kind of an interesting. It's honestly it's not interesting anymore. This is seemingly the new sort of deal on Chalet. No team doesn't know how to defend and attack a bar these days. It seems to have really forced its way into the meta, and it's a good bomb site definitely. But Intero, what's your stance? What do you think about how this map's going to go?
This region as a whole tends to really favor bar gaming. I think we've seen that a couple times from Latin America, and I like it because, I mean, Chalet usually referred to as only really 2 viable bomb sites. You know, bar gaming is a mixed bag depending on the teams you're playing against. Bedroom is almost always undefendable for the most part.
Yeah.
So you wind up in a situation where, similar to some of the sites that we see on Border, similar to a rear tower or rear stage and tower hold in Oregon as well, it's possible to make it work. Now, there were a couple teams, if I recall correctly, in the Italian tourney as well, that always went bar gaming, and they never went to the basement. So I think we're starting to see it become more commonplace than before, and that could be in part due to the way that traps work and pushing people out and preventing them from being able to get on site.
Could be. It could also be partly because of the fact that LANCHONETE right now has spent an entire minute doing about nothing. They've got the positions, they've got that main lobby balcony, as well as the radio tower, so they're just waiting for something to shoot. But unluckily for LANCHONETE, we are not seeing BRK get aggressive. We are not seeing them look for kills. They are simply waiting, and rightfully so, as it almost comes up on the half-round mark.
Look at how close the Ying is getting to the site, encroaching upon the double doors, and LANCHONETE apparently tries to shoot a camera for the second time, which it looked like they'd already gotten. Spawns way far out. We'd seen, was it a Dokaibi who had been all the way out there before, previously in some other regional qualifiers, and having somebody stand sentinel there will give you some control over the windows in the library upstairs, preventing anybody from being able to push out, which of course, there's almost always going to be at least 1 defender up in library.
And in this case, we have 2. Yuna going to get the first kill of this map onto PX, and that's a good frag. It looks like on one of the roamers, possibly trying to come up from the basement. At the last minute mark, there's nobody playing on the mirror window in library right this second. And whether or not LANCHONETE knows it, they should be safe to push up onto the library, which again, if you aren't familiar, library is probably the most essential room to hold on this site defense. So it's really important that BRK holds on to it.
It's the same as trying to hold projector on console, the same as you would hold armory upstairs when you're downstairs in workshop. You need to have floor control above before you can get below. Diogo, though, will join in on the action as he will eliminate spawns. And now 2 members of LANCHONETE will try to clear out the basement. Yuna decides against it, and FK just charges in, and with that F2, proving that even despite her changes, Twitch is still going to be a very painful operator to deal against. A 3rd kill, but Navi's is there and tears right through Yuna on a 1v3, completely blinded, just sitting at little over half health. He sees the buck, goes for a double kill, but even with 51 bullets, that Scorpion unable to chew through all of them. Revolts gets that final kill, and LANCHONETE goes up 1-0.
LANCHONETE played that round correctly for the most part. You know, they did spend a whole lot of time getting their positions, but they got the perfect positions to make the execution. Coming in from dining, making sure they have coverage from the main lobby balcony, so many right moves there. And ultimately, as soon as FK1 got into that position in the hallway outside of a library, those library defenders were unable to deal with the F2, one of the most feared attacking weapons. And now we are going to be seeing, I believe that is, Kitchen Trophy coming out from LANCHONETE, so a much more mainstream site. Of course, we did talk about how gaming and bar is kind of finding its way into the mainstream, but still old school, I suppose is the correct way to look at this. But they are going to be bringing a Pulse, obviously, for that C4 for below, as well as a pretty standardized setup overall. We talked about this before. Yuna on Legion.
Yuna on Legion is, and he's, as a whole, picks very interesting operators. We saw Blitz, we saw Ying, now he's going to rock the Legion. And Legion, we said it yesterday on the broadcast, not really sure why Latin America favors Legion so much, but for some reason, he seems to play a pivotal role in a lot of their strategies. Yep. It could be gunplay, though I have heard a lot of pros not a big fan of his SMG. So I don't know, and maybe at some point it will prompt us to have a further and broader discussion with these teams in Latin America and actually dig into why Legion seems to be such a staple for these teams.
Absolutely. Now, Buck brought from one. That's obviously going to be for that vertical pressure once the attackers take control over the top floor, which is almost always the priority when the defense is inside of Kitchen Trophy. They're going to have to contest with FK, and I believe that is Yuna upstairs. We'll see once they manage to get there, though. They're going to start with a downstairs push, it looks like. One going to be looking to grenade the trophy player from underneath. That's a very good use of Buck as well. Even if you don't hit the nades, you can simply open up all of B-Bomb site's floor and deny any anchorage.
Now, usually you would have the Pulse sitting inside of one of the garages. Most importantly, you'd have them in big garage to deny a plant, but with a Buck, that's Buck's territory too. So if they do decide to rotate spawns to big garage, it'll be a collision course between the two operators as they fight for control of that room. They'll flash up just onto the second floor outside of library as they manage to now clear out all of that. Oh, that was a nice C4 through the floor from Trophy as they clear out master bedroom, and they can now take control of that hatch and open it up over top of the aforementioned trophy room.
Now BRK slowly pushing their way into the top floor. GCR is going to take out Navi's with a nice headshot using Ella elsewhere. FK and Cyber now having a bit of a standoff. Cyber going to be playing really close to the barrel there as he pushes his way further deep into the balcony.
Looks like the Buck was positioned upstairs rather than going from below. They're going to have him tear the floor apart from master bedroom. Not going to question, or an office rather, not going to question that use of Buck, because we do see Buck inside of that main office quite a bit.
You could do either or. That's the beauty of Buck. Sledge limits you to going upstairs. Buck allows you to do whatever you want. Vaults in there from Cyber. Gonna eventually die to FK. Good positioning behind the trophy there from FK. And an excellent roam so far as he only has a minute left in the round and has successfully denied the top floor for now. He also has his teammate and GCR playing with him at the top of main lobby stairs. With the last 50 seconds to go, BRK are hard pressed to establish his top floor control and to make the final push.
That was a game of cat and mouse between Cyber and FK as well. They had originally skirmished inside of library when Cyber decided to rotate and come in through the window. FK had repositioned and was there to catch them. Now, they still have the Ella of GCR up top as well. Eliminate one, and that was the Buck who looked like he was trying to move back inside of Master. And finally, BRK gets on the board as that AR-33 of Diogo eliminates GCR. So you lost your Ella, but that's about it. And now the Pulse goes down too. So Diogo doing a great job of finding and clearing out the roamers.
What?
And he is firmly in sight, but does not hold the diffuser. PX does. He'll dive in, get hit by the Legion Mine, gets traded off by Diogo, and they'll have to go for a plant right now with just 5 seconds. It's all up to FK to jump down. He's trying to make some noise to try and prevent the plant. A nice gas grenade from Revolts will take out PX, and FK doing the rest of the work on the Diogo, and LANCHONETE is now up 2-0.
So we have, this is what we're talking about, we have seen for the most part in this matchup a round streak sort of deal. On Clubhouse, it was the first 2 rounds in favor of BRK. Then LANCHONETE won out 5 rounds in a row to win the map. On Oregon, we saw 4 rounds for BRK and then 3 rounds in a row for LANCHONETE, but BRK managed to come back in the last round to deny that overtime. Here we're seeing another 2 rounds for LANCHONETE. The question is, will we see that turn into a streak? And as the disconnects come out, it looks like we're going to be having a rehost here. So no big deal. We'll get back into the action as soon as possible. The score will be 0-2 still in favor of LANCHONETE.
Welcome back.
Hey.
So just a bit of a cool off that they will have now with BRK failing on Bar Gaming. It'll be interesting to see where they're going to go. And unfortunately, I don't think we were able to capture where they were going to go on their site this time around. But I mean, every site is unlocked for them. They could go back to Barn Gaming and hope for a more formidable defense this time around. Could go downstairs or Kitchen Trophy. And a couple things on the attack that I saw for BRK was they took a while to get in a position. They managed to take control of Master, but they didn't really use much of Master at all. In fact, they decided to put most of their push inside of Office right next to it and then try to work on the roamers in the hallway and the top of the stairs and by Library. And they just kept feeding in to LSX and ended up establishing very little actual control in terms of territory, but also weren't able to get the kills when needed.
I mean, I think to lead into what you were saying is it's very, very much a case of that they had that control and they didn't actually focus on clearing out the roamers as a team. It seemed like there was always one person on BRK holding the angle, trying to deny the flank, but ultimately losing their life in the process. And eventually, when they got fed up with that, one person pushing in at a time to try and clear out library, it's just not going to work. Eventually, that got the kills, but they were already at such a deficit, having lost, I think, 3 players that put them in a 2-on-5 after they cleared out those, or that first roamer and then the second 2-on-3, but still, it was a bad time overall for that roam clear. If they had focused on it as a whole team and droned out library and pushed all the way in, I think they would have had a much better time on that round.
Well, they had Diogo as the Thatcher inside of Master Bedroom, basically doing nothing. He just seemed to keep circling around. You know, you didn't have a Hibana up there. First of all, their Hibana was the first casualty. That is going to thwart most of your plan to begin with when you've lost her first, and of course her utility can't get any of those hatches if the ex-Kairos go with her to the grave. So
it forced the Thermite to go upstairs too.
Right.
The hard destruction that you could have used elsewhere. Really, the only way you're going to use that Thermite is in the west lobby. Well, that's it. But still, it forced him to come off of the position he was trying to play, I think on the B window, and then go upstairs to open the drop down. And ultimately, it didn't really aid them at all. But he had to do it because you need that potential, that leverage for the actual push.
And if you had to think that if they, the way the position of the Ella was positioned by the pillar, just over top of the fireplace on the second floor.
The chimney?
By the chimney, sorry, not pillar. It's a chimney, it's a fireplace. Of course, fireplaces have chimneys. What am I thinking? And then you had the Jaeger who was sitting by those little trophy cabinets in the hallway upstairs. You could conceivably have one push from inside of bedroom or office and then have another come in through library, now that at this point, library is relatively cleared. Because if you're going to try and push from the angle that they were inside of office and master, they are going to get caught in the crossfire of the defense, not the other way around. And that's not how you pinch roamers. That's how you yourself get pinched. And that's exactly what BRK did.
And unfortunately, I think it was just the case that BRK wasn't playing enough focus. Again, they were trying, it seemed like they were trying to use Master and Office, and just that's it. Let's use Master and Office. Let's open up the floor, and let's push into the site. We can ignore the roamers. And that's all well and good if you're playing it safe, but they were playing it too loose, and it allowed it allowed the roamers to just keep picking them off one by one by one. For those of you wondering, we are almost ready. We're getting everybody back into the lobby again. Chalet is the map we are currently on. 0-2 still for LANCHONETE, and soon we'll get things back up and rolling.
Just waiting on one member.
Just waiting on one
member to come back. And hopefully no significant hardware or PC issues.
It's always unfortunate when that happens.
Right.
Yeah. So we, I hopefully, again, like you said, we're hopefully not going to be having to deal with that. So we haven't had very much of an eventful map so far. The BRK hold, we haven't talked about the first round very much. Let's talk about the BRK hold on Gaming Bar.
Okay.
Because it seemed like they were doing a lot of things right, but LANCHONETE, they came at it from the perfect angle, forcing in from the main lobby and covering all of their flanks quite coherently, not really leaving any gaps in the defense of their attack. So that was very impressive by them. Even if BRK was playing it right, they even had 2 of their mirror windows facing towards Master and Office when they were holding up upstairs in Library, but even that defense with the aid of the mirror windows was unable to get a single kill. So what are your thoughts on that hold overall?
I guess, like, for me, the biggest gleaming mistake that they did was they had no pressure whatsoever on the main floor, except for on site. They had 3 above and they had 2 on site, but within 40 seconds of the round starting, Yuna was already at double doors and was able to get a frag almost right away as Ying, without even using the gadgets available or at his disposal, just because of his positioning. And it's, how can you give up that much room and let them fight? I mean, we don't see a lot of reinforcements, but they didn't even reinforce double doors. They didn't reinforce main lobby, like, at all. So there were all these wide open sight lines for the attackers to literally just come in, and there was nobody covering to make sure that they weren't pushing from that angle.
I could have really seen a roam inside of Trophy be very successful there, because it like you said, it was left open when it needn't be. Because I mean, think about Trophy, right? Why is it so hard to attack at a Trophy? Why is that one of the most common bomb sites? Well, because there's only a window. The only way to get into Trophy as an attacker is either through the hallway, which is often defended, often part of the defense as overall, or through the B window. And we saw, I think, mostly just Master control and then down into Trophy later towards from West Lobby from LANCHONETE. But if you had maybe a Jaeger and Ella sitting inside of a trophy, simply waiting and holding that window, holding the hallway, and it's not a hard thing to do, we could have seen at least either a late flank or just a stall out of time for LANCHONETE. Like, you're absolutely right. BRK didn't try to take that. They didn't even, there was no real pressure there. They did a full anchor inside of library and inside of the actual barn gaming room.
Yeah, usually you'd see a 3-speed, be it a Jaeger, be it an Ella, inside of trophy, or at very minimum at the bottom of the stairs in West Main, so that they could come up and be able to push through that way. And we saw there wasn't a lot of pressure. It was basically just on site and then upstairs. But with that said, it does look like we're going to load into Chalet, and we're going to head back. It was 2-0 in favor of LSX. That is the team over my left shoulder here that I am cupping the logo of, and BRK looking to battle back. This is also BRK's matchup, and as you can see between us, they're all tied up 1-1. So we'll go right into the game, and we'll show you how it's going to go from round 3 onwards. It should be pretty exciting.
Oh, absolutely. Like previously stated, this has been a very back and forth match so far. Often the score goes in streaks. I think that rehost, though, is probably going to be well, it's probably going to end the streak. Usually rehosts, they cancel all momentum and let both teams start anew, but the score is still what it is, 2-0, and even if BRK doesn't have to fight the momentum anymore, they will have to be at a disadvantage, even if ever so slightly.
You have a blitz on the board. Yuna playing blitz an awful lot. Not too much of a surprise, but
he likes his odd ops.
He does, and I mean, he makes blitz work, though. I mean, we see the same thing with what is it, Julio or Julio?
Julio, yeah.
Julio, as we've quarreled in the past over his pronunciation, and I want to make sure we're getting it right, or at least I'm getting it right.
I do remember talking to Julio, and he told me straight up that it was Julio.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I would imagine that he knows best.
If I'm wrong, I'm sure he will correct me. And if I am, I apologize.
Now, the setup that they have at the moment involving a mute, and on a site like this, mute is of course going to be used effectively to deny intel primarily inside of trophy. We saw them set up 2 jammers there, and there is no Twitch being employed, just the Thatcher to be able to take care of that. Now, for those that are wondering, why would you run a mute in this particular scenario over another operator, such as maybe a 3rd roamer or somebody else who can play aggressive side, or even another anchor like an Echo, a Rook, or a Doc?
Right. I mean, anchors are not so in the meta, especially those ones like Docs and Rooks anymore, because you've got anchors who can do things like this, such as Mute, who have C4s. A nice C4 there from 1 on a GCR above, and yeah, that's why you're typically going to bring someone who's a little bit more dynamic, especially in our current meta. But, I mean, we do sometimes see Docs and Rooks these days. I mean, mostly Echo.
Blitz will gallop in through through the master bedroom into the hallway from above. They'll manage to snag that Valkyrie cam, which will just be some information deprived from the defenders, but not too much, as they still have a pulse working inside a kitchen to do the duty up top, and most importantly, in front of kitchen as well. And the longer that pulse is around for, the more of a problem it's going to be. But using that long sightline, FK able to trade off Navis after they had lost GCR just a couple minutes ago. Spawns has taken some significant damage, but still hangs on, as it looks like they're going to try to push, or maybe even go for a drop from above. The real question is, could Blitz survive a hot drop? It's the mute of 1 inside of Trophy right now trying to hold them off, and he does not have a Nitro Cell as he used it earlier on.
At least he managed to get a kill from it, but it was not going to be against the shield, which is generally where you want that C4 to land, so you don't have to deal with somebody, well, blitzing right into your face. Now, Revolt's outside the main lobby is trying to use that drone hole to find the player inside of dining, but is unable to so far. Yuna looking to drop, and he will be, I think, laying down some smokes. Diogo's going to get spawned, though, as he attempts to go into the kitchen.
That was very little left of that Ash, but Diogo lost some of his health, too. The Blitz comes right in and manages to finish off 1. And look at that shield putting in significant work. Though it is the Pulse who runs in, and he'll get blinded completely. Yuna, a double kill. And now you can see the smoke trying to get onto site, too. He will run into Yuna. What? Yuna manages to somehow, he doesn't take him down, but gets traded off by Cyber from behind, as it was Revolt who gets the kill, and now it's all up to Cyber. A 1v1 Revolt's very vulnerable for the next 7 seconds. He does not stick the landing whatsoever. He knows that Cyber is down and tries to land a shot. He'll soften up that Hibana, but a nice dipsy doodle by Revolts as he prevails, and LANCHONETE takes the round.
And despite the momentum shift, it is going to be 3-0 now. Very impressive there from LANCHONETE. It did seem like it was going to be a BRK round. I mean, you saw Yuna perfectly force out Trophy and use his smokes to cut off Dining as he forced it out. But at the same time, what was that shield put away? Like his shield did not get melee'd. He just kind of put it away. What?
It looked like when the smoke dropped, he might have melee'd the shield.
But he didn't melee it so hard that it got put on his back, did he?
I have no idea. Maybe he Captain America threw it. I don't know.
Oh, that could have been it.
That
yeah,
could have
that's
been
possible.
That could be in the mid-season reinforcements. Blitz can now throw his shield.
Must have been a fat finger, to be honest. It had to have been it.
I'm not entirely certain what happened, but I mean, it made him very exposed. It was good that Revolts was there to get the cleanup kill onto the smoke, because it looked like Yuna was very vulnerable, but Yuna didn't last very long shortly thereafter, right? Because Cyber was able to get that kill from above, and honestly, now it's going to put them up 3-0.
I'm a little surprised at the way that Cyber handled that last little bit of the situation there, or even by the way the Habana handled it too, because instead of going for a plant, which he probably easily could have done, he tried to force out the kill, which meant that if Valkyrie had simply waited, it would have gone differently. I don't know. Both players trying to outplay each other, ultimately making the mistake of playing into each other. And it all came down to aim, as we so often see it happen here in Latin America.
It looked like Yuna almost took the head off of the Jaeger of FK on his team, as well as he was just trying to do some, I guess, some renovation work downstairs on that wall. But situated from above, Basement is that's the first time we will see Basement come out, as they will guard Wine Cellar and Snowmobile Garage, and yikes.
Hardcore parkour from Cyber, yielding him a kill, pardon.
And that's a nice shot too, and FK, that was not a very well-advised plan for him, but regardless, BRK takes the early man count with lots of time to spare for them, and not even contested. They'll also get Snowmobile Garage as well. You can see from the defenders they did not run a Bandit nor a Mute, so there really wasn't anything there to prevent that breach, and get the breach off they did. That's good timing from BRK to be able to get to that Snowmobile Garage. The only issue is going to be that mirror window staring right at them from inside of Wine.
And another kill here from BRK onto GCR. Great job from Navi's clearing out the roam inside of Trophy. And that's a really important thing, because last time we saw BRK attack, they got super stalled because of those roamers. And it's not going to happen this time. But Yuna gets a refrag onto Diogo, as it looks like it might have just been outside the Snowmobile Garage, simply peeking from the connector. And that usually doesn't work for the defense, but Yuna making it in this situation.
Double kill for Yuna, as down goes Navi's. That's the Twitch out of the question. So you've lost Twitch and Thatcher, both of who have similar jobs, sort of overlapping. You were going to be focusing on gadget destruction, but they've largely already managed to get open that garage door. The only question is, did they lose the Mira on Wine? And that's what I want to see here. I couldn't tell from that angle if they lost it. Nope, they still have it upright, and Yuna, kill number 3 on the round. On to Cyber. He is single-handedly carrying this team right now. He had a great first 2 rounds. Those stats won't be shown just because of the rehost.
Yep, and it is going to be what was a 5-on-3, turned swiftly into a 2-on-3 by virtue of, like you said, Yuna, who has been just, I don't know, playing off one position, very aggressive, picking all the possible angles. Revolt in from One's going to get him eliminated, and PX as well. Revolts takes him down. So no more of Yuna this round, but all the same, it is going to be a LANCHONETE win. And a bit of a streak here, as we are on match point already of Chalet. So, by the way, I feel like this is worth saying. This is BRK's map, and they are now down 4 rounds. The previous map was LANCHONETE's map, and they lost that. The previous map was Clubhouse. That was BRK's map, and BRK lost that. So nobody has won their map preference yet. Not one.
This would be a big upswing for the team that is currently assembled as LANCHONETE, because we said yesterday, and for those that weren't tuned in, the core of this team is Pain Gaming. Yuna, Revolts, and Spawns all came from Pain Gaming. They finished 7th, if I recall correctly, in Latin America last season, managed to stave off being relegated, and now are back in Pro League. The other 2 members, FK1 and GCR, came from a team called INTZ, INTS, which did finish 8th in Latin America last season and did get relegated. So the core of this team is doing quite well, all things considered, or at least in relation to where they finished last season.
And we've been seeing a whole bunch of that through the qualifiers. Teams that you wouldn't expect to do as well as they are doing, well, do very well. And, you know, for example, Era and Reckless, who made it all the way into the finals for North America. Not a lot of people were counting them as the final contenders, but that's where they found themselves. So it does seem to be that the qualifiers for this Invitational have been not necessarily an upset sort of city or anything like that, just lots of abnormalities in terms of typical Siege esports.
Yeah, that's part of the beauty of the bracket itself and the way that it plays is that expect the unexpected. And I mean, that's good. That's good for us because it always lends exciting matches because you really don't actually know how it's going to go. It's kind of boring if everything goes according to plan, so to speak.
Yeah.
So outside of the norm and something that isn't routine is, of course, always wonderful to see. Now, heading into this round, we've gotten into just over 30 seconds into round number 3. We are on match point, even though it doesn't say it at the top, because it is 4-0. So it's going to be up to LANCHONETE to close this one out, and then we'll await map number 4, which is
going to be Oregon.
I thought we just played Oregon.
Oh, yeah, no, we did just play Oregon. I guess I have it written down wrong. Pardon me.
Unless we're going to go back.
Yeah, we'll go back to Oregon.
We'll do Oregon
another
twice.
Oregon.
Okay. So with that said, inside, so we'll be playing Consulate next.
Consulate,
but with that said, LSX has taken the top floor and still about half the round, really need to get their ducks in a row. It's a decent composition to deal with this as GCR eliminates Cyber, and that is the Ella down will fall to the Glaz, the suppressed Glaz up on what is called K9, fondly named after Era Eternity member K9, who will be at the Invitational with that team as they won the North American playoffs.
I was talking to some European players actually a couple days ago about K9 spots, and they said, yeah, no, we actually call main lobby balcony K9 in Europe as well, even though K9's a North American player. Right. Now we're going to have Navi's get a kill on a GCR. There's Vigil proving himself useful on the roam over by what I believe is Library. And so far, LANCHONETE has stalled out a little bit. We've only got a minute left to go. They have forced the roam downstairs, but they don't have any actual good positions to push.
And that was very good usage of Vigil, was that he was inside of Library. The Glaz was trying to hunt him down. Now, of course, Glaz can see him through his thermal scope, so as a nice glowing yellow indicator. However, Glaz was only droning for himself, so all he could have was that visual indicator that Vigil was somewhere nearby, but wasn't actually able to determine his location. And what this has done is forced LSX to need to go from inside a kitchen itself. They have firm site control, Spawns, FK, and Yuna all jumping in, and it's all up to PX to prevent the sweep, but PX will get gunned down just inside of the hallway by West Main, and Spawns finishes it off. A nice showing, and they will back out, and we will go to championship point in just a moment on Consulate as LSX takes that 5-0, a flawless performance.
A very good job there from LANCHONETE and Consulate, a map that is very dynamic. I'm guessing by the scores that we've seen throughout these maps is probably going to favor BRK, given that it was LANCHONETE's pick. We'll probably see it be BRK. Let's take a look at the highlights from what we just witnessed on Chalet. Most of these highlights going to obviously be probably from LANCHONETE, given their dominant victory.
As you said, it's all BRK at the moment. That was a really nice C4, though.
Hey, we see what we see, you know.
That's a fair point.
Score was 5-0. I don't know if there's much more to say.
I think the one real standout for me over the last 2 days has been Yuna, and this was a great play here. And you can see part of the issue with FK's Jaeger in that was he was running that extremely vibrant orange headgear, and that's the kind of thing where Skinergy can get you killed. And of course, Jaeger has a pretty large head box, but outside of that, when you're looking through a window through the cover of trees and there's this bright, glowing orange sphere staring back at you, it's going to make it a little bit easier to notice where you are.
As our previous casters just said, the Universal Glaz skin, or actually I believe it was Macy J in the chat who said Universal Glaz skin. And it kind of hits hard on home, though, because that's exactly what it is. Yeah. It is a skin where you put it on and now suddenly everyone sees you glowing and you're easy to kill. So Consulate now is going to be our map. Again, it looks like it's going to favor BRK given it's LANCHONETE's pick. That's just the theme we're running with today. But it also is a very dynamic pick, which is similar in terms of maps. It's similar, I think, to the most of what we've seen so far. It's similar to Oregon. We saw Chalet, we saw Clubhouse. Those are a little bit more linear. You have specific ways to play that. Clubhouse, you're not roaming. Chalet you need to roam.
Right.
And on Oregon, the most dynamic of all of them, we did see BRK get the win in the end. It took them a little, it was a struggle, but they got the win. So that might play into their skills on Consulate now, and we could see them show up a little bit more, go to map number 5, which I think, honestly, we're probably going to see.
I like Consulate because it is a good mix of the aspects of Chalet that we like as well as Oregon, right? It's got a lot of destructibility similar to the way that Chalet does. The way that you're going to take sites in Consulate is going to play out very similar to certain sites in Chalet too. But with Oregon, it's also got some smaller and narrow corridors where there are a bit more room heavy. Chalet, very, very open. You can rotate for a long period of time. Consulate, you have to work a little harder to make sure that those rotates are happening, be it through impacts or through hatches themselves. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams stack up. And LANCHONETE did well on Oregon, obviously not well enough to prevail, but we also saw LSX do extremely well on Oregon yesterday when they played MyP2. So could have just been a bad day for them, you're not sure, but I don't know if we're going to see a 5th map. Obviously, we hope so. I hope so.
We saw LANCHONETE get really close on Oregon. Like they were
close.
1 round away from overtime.
They stormed back.
It's just because they lost 4 rounds in, well, the first 4 rounds in a row, and they couldn't push back enough. They were just an inch off, honestly. But we have everybody loaded in here. We are going to be getting back into matches. It's going to be Consulate. Score right now is 1-2 favor of LANCHONETE. And as soon as everyone readies up, we'll get started.
And this is it. This could potentially be our very last Latin America map that we see, which would have LSX go to the Invitational in the sunny beaches of Montreal in February. Yeah. The sunny beaches of Canada, if I may, as they would go to Montreal and they need to bundle up as it is currently summer in Brazil and it is very much winter in Canada. With that said, we are loading in. Consulate is going to be map number 4. You have BRK versus LANCHONETE. And this is it. This could be our last one. We'll load into the game in just a moment.
I don't expect BRK to let the momentum get to them. I mean, we've seen so many comebacks from both teams throughout this series that I don't think BRK is going to be like, no, we're getting eliminated here. Plus, you know, I got to be honest, I think going into this, a lot of people were pulling for BRK in this matchup. They seem to have a really good qualifier throughout. And while LANCHONETE had a good qualifier as well, you know, they also had some pretty landslide victories, and those sorts of things cannot always be, you know, given credit to the winners.
I think, not to discredit their success, but I think most people, if we had done a community vote yesterday,
yeah,
I think MOPA would have almost taken that in a landslide, largely because of the popularity of their players, but also because they are the old BRK, and we knew how successful they had been in the past.
You know, it's got to be weird, you know, not being the BRK, the new BRK, making it all the way to the finals, and the old BRK not. I gotta wonder how that feels. You know, it's like, oh, the org that used to have us is just pushed on forward when we couldn't.
Well, they did tease on Twitter that there is news coming and that they're not that upset by the
loss.
The loss. I think they all tweeted the same thing, actually. I'm pretty certain Zig tweeted something and they all cut and pasted the exact same tweet, if I remember seeing it correctly.
It almost seemed on Twitter like they weren't at all worried that they didn't qualify the hard way for the qualifier.
I think they'll have a very good shot in the community vote.
I think, yeah.
One of the most popular YouTubers, period, for Rainbow Six in Zagara.
Yeah, I think he is actually like the #1 just Rainbow Six YouTuber. He's top 5 easily.
Easily. So I think they're pretty confident that they'll have a good shot in the community vote.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless, as we've touched on before, the other thing with that too is that you don't want to leave that to chance, because you can lose that community vote. You are more in control of your fate in this actual game. With that said, LSX is potentially only 5 rounds away, and they'll look to try to push on that garage. The first EMP will go down, and that exothermic charge is just sitting there waiting. Now on the defense, there's only a mute to contend with, and wow, FK making sure that LANCHONETE starts off strong, as both he and GCR, guns a-blazing just outside of Visa, and a 2K for him very quickly, and you lose your Hibana and your Ash. That's going to affect a push from that main floor. You can't get that hatch unless you use your thermite inside of the bathroom, and Piano is going to be relatively safe now too.
No, it's interesting. BRK opened up the garage wall and then started to fall off it. Now they're all the way back, and it seems like a bit of a dance here for BRK. I don't think they were expecting to lose 2 operators. I think their plan was to push the back halls, the locker hall of this site. But that went awry because they lost their main 3 speeds. Well, their only 3 speeds and a lot of their pushing power. Now they're going to have to start to go for a smoke push in towards garage, but it's not going to work out. At least not so far, as Spawns gets a headshot onto 1. we see it be a 2-on-5. C4 will miss for Spawns, but he's going to get a little bit of damage on the PX as he peeks around the corner. Still playing by Black Car. He has a lot of control.
He gets shot at from both the Mute as well as the Mira, secured inside of that office just next to the staff cafeteria. And they're looking to see where the rest of them are. So they know where 2 of the defenders are, but where's the castle of Unit? And of course, the ever-fearsome roaming duo of FK1 and GCR, who have looked very good so far this tournament as well. So they will now need to reposition too, because it is just the duo of Thermite and Thatcher and 5 members of the defense. It's basically a death trap for them to try to wander into that garage.
And I mean, these are your primary support attackers. When you say support operator, it just screams Thermite and Thatcher. So in this situation, they're not going to be very favored to win out. I mean, obviously a 2v5 is already daunting, but add to that your particular roles, and again, it just gets a little bit harder. Diogo going to be covering the flank as Thermite starts to push into lockers. The plan might be here to just try and bait out this push using Thermite and get a couple flanks from Diogo. But Diogo is going to do just that, actually, as he eliminates FK1. And now we have a slightly more even round, but still only 16 seconds. GCR getting a little ahead of himself, running outside the garage, not going to find anyone. Unit will get Diogo in the back hallway. And now Red Revolt's going to take out PX as he comes out of the kitchen. Very aggressive round, even towards the end there by LSX. And they will secure the first round win. Now that's going to be, I think, affording them a lot of momentum, given they already won the previous map.
Over the last, 3 games, they've really only had a couple bad rounds. Because even some of those rounds that BRK won, LSX was still putting up a pretty valiant fight. Whereas you could say BRK has done the same, but it doesn't really matter because the score shows that LANCHONETE is doing a really wonderful job at the moment of holding off BRK and really exploiting their weaknesses too. I think BRK has been struggling with entry, and that has been showing by how well LSX has been able to capitalize on the entry fraggers. Now, be it that they might not have a strong enough drone game, I'm not entirely certain because we can't always see the full picture, but I would suspect that part of it is that BRK isn't sticking together as well on their entries as they could, and often leaving one member all on their lonesome, and in that case, it's just simply going to be who wins their gunfight at that point, and BRK's been losing them.
Yeah. And as you can see up at the top there, we have a Glaz for LANCHONETE. Now, we've been seeing Glaz played so much through this series. It seems like both teams are really in love with him. And you got to wonder why at some point, because we don't see him in every single region, at least not as frequently as we're seeing him right now. And I guess it's just favoring the fact that you can see through those smokes. I mean, smokes are definitely a lot more in the meta than they used to be. But here on LANCHONETE, you only see one set of smokes, and that's on the Glaz himself. So, questioning what the actual point is there. Do you have any thoughts on that, Intero?
Latin America runs a lot of Glaz.
They do.
Almost every major team in Latin America has a proficient Glaz player. You have 2, in fact, on BRK in both One and Cyber, who played a lot of Glaz last season, and now you have One playing on more primarily fragging roles here. As for LANCHONETE, I just think that it helps because of how good their aim is, and Yuna manages to take out One, and that eliminates the Pulse very quickly before Navi's can trade that one off and put us back to 4v4. That's the Ash off the board for the attackers, which Ash is important on this site simply for fragging potential, but not a whole lot else in comparison to the other operators that they have right now.
It looked there like Spawns just got a little bit out rate of fired. He was firing on to the Ella's face. Navi's just narrowly dodging death there. He will be very lit up. It doesn't look like they're going to reset. Not going to take that risk, which is understandable. But yeah, a very close one there for Spawns. And you can see the fabled Glaz from GCR repelling on the B windows. Just going to go up to the roof, and I guess the push might be shifting to another part of the map. But there doesn't seem to be any specific focus so far from LANCHONETE.
They only have a minute and a half, and they're going to need probably 2 members of their team to take care of that smoke on top of Yellow. Now, they don't have a Jaeger, so there is no ADS there, so Sledge could theoretically get a nice grenade off if he wanted to. Usually you will see a member of the defense hold on Yellow, and they'll do so with an ADS or 2 to prevent being flashed or pushed with frags. And take a look at that. That was one frag that was set up, and another will go, but Diogo near misses. Still has just under half of his health left, and there are no frags left on the buck.
That was a good call, and they must have heard you, but unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. Now, with the last minute, LSX, they still haven't really accomplished anything overall. Sure, they got one, but now they have no route to pressure. And as GCR misses a couple very important shots on inexplicably on Inavis, that's going to allow Diogo to get a kill onto Yuna in the last 40 seconds. The push is finally coming here from LANCHONETE.
And PX is the only member at the moment of the defense who is of full health. It's only going to take one shot to eliminate most of them. As Cyber eliminates FK, it's all up to GCR and Revolt. They will get pushed out by the smoke. GCR sees the Ela rotate into the stairwell of Yellow, and that smoke is still just holding there. They're going to see if the Ela can peek around the corner. GCR makes it look really easy. Only needs a sliver of Ela to take out what was left of her, and now can conceivably try to push in. The main obstacle will be that smoke inside of Yellow, but he's going to go for it and hope that the SMG-11 can't do its job sufficiently. However, it does. Revolts now takes down PX, and it's all up to the Hibana. It's the smoke left who just needs to hide, and he's going to run out of time, and BRK manages to stop the bleeding. That was 6 rounds in a row that they lost before they finally got one of their own. We're tied 1-1.
That was honestly, it was an impressive round for BRK, sure, but the whole time it looked like LANCHONETE was the one in control. They were just too slow. That was the only problem. They took too much trying to establish the angles. BRK played extremely passive, and props to them for that. But LANCHONETE always seemed like they were the ones bearing the teeth. They are the ones hunting down BRK despite winning the round, or despite losing the round rather. And that is not really good. That's not a good place to be for BRK. Even if you're winning rounds, that's going to make you feel like it was just narrow, and it was. It was very close. Smoke had 1 HP. He was just chilling on Yellow, and he won it via time, not through a dominant victory.
We had right at the beginning of the round as well. It was an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object, and that was the Ashe and Ela colliding very quickly, and of course the Ela prevailed on that one. And I think that really helped because you lost the Ashe, and yes, her gadget might not be the most important. She'll be able to open up some walls, maybe take out some barbed wire and help facilitate a quick push onto the site. And simply the fact that you were down one is always going to be a hindrance as well, but it was a good opening burst for BRK, and after that, it did look like it took LANCHONETE quite a considerable amount of time to be able to find their footing again.
Ultimately, they did find it, but it's just too little too late. Now, we are going to have round number 3, and GCR an aggressive spawn peek out on the front door. Not going to get him anything, unfortunately, for GCR. The Ela recoil can only go so far. It's not going to win you fights from across the map, unfortunately.
Could have gotten maybe a headshot if it had been a bit of a different spray, but... Should
they buff the rate of fire, you think, on Ela? Give him a couple more points of potential for headshots there? No? No, you don't think so? All right. 5-on-5 still, as we are still in the very first minute of this round. And it's going to be dueling down to those last 20 seconds of minute number 1.
I'd like to see how the Capitao is going to work. This is a pretty hardy second floor composition. A lot of smokes available, which will allow them to attack potentially from Skylight, potentially to attack from inside admin, or just simply take console. A lot of times you will see the Capitao posted up on the western windows along with the glass. Maybe have some smoke and then a drop in. The big component is going to be whether there's somebody playing inside of Yellow. We saw that last time around. BRK favored the Yellow hold an awful lot from the smoke. And as you can see, another smoke yet again inside of console office by that short wall by the closet. But first kill is going to go to 1 as he nades the Ela, and GCR, who is a good shot, will not be able to run, I guess, with reckless abandon throughout the map, as he's off the board.
Or at all.
Or at all.
Yeah.
At least for this round.
I mean, yeah, having Ela eliminated so quickly is a really good thing, just in general. Now, one does not know how close he was to that kill. If he had simply aimed a little bit lower, it would have been a headshot. But a nice try there, seeing the melee holes and forcing Jaeger off of that position. But we're seeing a lot of what we saw last round, this time on a different team. But BRK has stalled out on this top floor push, and we even have Roamer still for LANCHONETE downstairs. Pulse on the Yellow stairs themselves will be waiting it out.
Yuna tries to get one of the clay pigeons just by the balcony. There's one completely opening up that bathroom will afford his team an opportunity to cut off any of those roamers or flanks that could push in. 2 smokes will drop, but gets answered by Smoke himself, and Cyber comes right into the actual Toxic Babes, but persists through it and eliminates Yuna as he loses about 2/3 of his health. Now they do have control inside. Diogo runs in, Spawns trades off, and Navi's Claymore is able to eliminate FK1, and that is going to leave just the Valkyrie for LSX against 4 members. From below, he'll take out PX. And Spawns will have some hardy work ahead of him to take out the 3 remaining members, and we'll see if he can get around the corner to the Claymore here without setting it off. Does get it, runs out, but nobody on the windows, and we'll head back inside. Briefly detected, meaning that the defenders, or the attackers rather, will still know his position. Just outside of the vending machines will outduel the Hibana, and he takes her down. And that's Navi's off the board, but still a Glaz and a Buck. That bathroom opened up earlier, will be where the Buck sits, and Glaz has a nice long sight line from inside a console office that he will use on Spawns, and BRK takes their first lead in a map and 2 rounds.
And as well, the first attack win there for BRK. We saw a lot of basement coming out from both of these teams, and well, not for both these teams, just for LANCHONETE. And it worked out for them, then BRK went upstairs, and that worked out for them. But now, LANCHONETE trying upstairs, and they are unsuccessful. A lot better time management for BRK. We did rant on them a little bit earlier for wasting a lot of the first 2 minutes, but when that last minute came around, smokes went down, and there was no hesitation on the vault into B. So good job to BRK for that. Also, the roam clear, while it wasn't spectacular, did manage to at least neutralize the roamers. Good Claymore placement on the A balcony, and an all-round, well-structured attack from BRK. Now, bottom floor defense for BRK. This time, we'll see if they manage to make this work.
The big focus for me there was both of those rounds looked like BRK was finally comfortable again with playing against LANCHONETE, and that was something that I think was missing in Chalet, was that most of the times BRK looked pretty listless. They looked confused, rudderless, you know, lost in the sauce, as I think some would say. But now they actually do look like their old selves, and it's helping them. Here they have the lead on LANCHONETE's map. So very interesting that they keep trading back and forth. But regardless, now BRK will go to defense. They do have a lot of roam or anchor heavy players at the moment. You have an Echo, you have a Smoke, you have a Mira, you even have a Legion, who of course will likely want to play closer to site as those goo mines will recharge, or rather charge up over time. And I don't know why they completely negated to seal off that garage, and one Ash charge will blow it wide open.
So we talked about how BRK was slightly more on point, and then something happened, and now they forgot their entire reinforcement pattern. And we also saw, you know, it's not really a big deal, but what we just saw there between the Smoke, the interaction between that Smoke and Ella, where the Smoke is trying to reinforce the door, Ella's trying to come in and put down the Gersmod, and then Ella wants to leave as well, and then he's still trying to reinforce the door. That right there is just miscommunication. That's people not saying things to each other, and that is always bad in a team format.
That Sledge, he sees the Smoke, and Navi's, despite both sides of the garage now being open, will try to push through, and GCR makes him pay, and that's first kill for LSX.
Drop's going to be opened up. Good job there from LANCHONETE to at least get that control. Grenades are going to ultimately miss near the small office downstairs. And Cyber on the pipes position is one of the most important anchors and pivots here for BRK, as they don't have anyone playing by White Van. More miscommunication coming out here between BRK, and a Smoke is going to be dropped instantly by pipes. Now, finally, one will go off onto the main garage. As we get close to the last minute of this round, LSX is in a good position for their final push with drops open, control of the entire garage, no defenders by White Van, no defenders by pipes. We'll see how that works out for them.
And they managed to pick up that Toxic Babe, so at very minimum, they will still have 2 more available. And they peek their head for just a second as another Smoke goes off. Yuna takes out the Yokai as FK does some long sight damage on the PX, but BRK a salvo of their own as Cyber and Diogo eliminate both Revolts and FK, but are unable and unsuccessful at stopping that defuse from going down. So still a 3v3, but there is now a crisis of time as that diffuser loses a quarter of its clock. And it's one who's going to try to pick up that barbed wire, so there's going to be no audio for the defenders, or the attackers rather. Diogo tries to push up. He gets gunned down by Yuna as GCR eliminates one, and it's all up to the Legion of Cyber to contend with Yuna and GCR. Going against a Glaz and a Thermite, and GCR makes it 3 on the round as he takes out Cyber and ties us up again with LSX answering back.
Very dangerous prospect here for, what a nice shot. Very dangerous prospect here for BRK. They're the ones really feeling the pressure with that map count at the top. You can see there, LANCHONETE's the one up 2-1 of BRK, and if they win this map, it's all over. They will push their way into the Invitational. So every round counts, and there were so many little issues in that last round for BRK. Just to start, of course, there was a miscommunication we saw at the back. We saw the one garage panel left unreinforced. We saw, this is the main thing though, is the defense falling off of pipes, yellow pillar, and white, back of white, so easily. Sure, we did see LANCHONETE opening tons of holes inside of Piano, but you cannot, just because you have a yokai drone, that does not mean you can fall all the way back and expect the plant not to go down. I mean, BRK did answer with some good frags and a late roam upstairs that managed to bring it at least somewhat closer in their favor, but ultimately they let the plant get down, and in this bomb site, if you let the plant get down right inside of garage, it is a struggle to retake.
Yes, because you have all of that, or you have all of that, I guess, that driveway where the car is parked outside,
yep,
as well as the 2 stairwells as cover. And then, of course, you can always, if you haven't blown all, or the 2 panels, you can still have 1 panel to use as cover as well, which can be particularly treacherous. Now, one thing I noticed there that they also didn't get the most mileage out of was their echo as well. The yokai, very typically you will see a yokai will sit above, it'll hit them with a disorientation burst, it will fall back to the ground and scoot off. Whereas, in all reality, BRK just left the yokai there. Very easy to determine its location. You saw Yuna just instinctively looked up and managed to take care of it. And congratulations, your yokai only got 1 burst off before ultimately losing it, and that made it very difficult, especially the fact that their Echo running the Supernova, so a shotgun, so didn't have that same distance that the ACOG with the MP5 does.
I have to say, I don't dislike Echo shotgun, but one of the reasons you bring an Echo, for some players at least, is for the ACOG. More importantly, you're defending the basement of garage. That is some of the longest angles in this entire map, and you didn't bring an ACOG, you didn't bring the SMG that can help you with those fights. It's just a personal preference, obviously, but it's an odd one.
And you've already got a Smoke who's running the shotgun. Why do you need 2 anchors, both with shotguns, that are going to be relying exclusively on their secondary firearms to get those longer range kills, unless you truthfully believe that it's going to be all close quarters encounters, which, as you said, a wrong assumption to make. Very easy for BRK to get that exothermic charge off, though, and at least one of the garage panels will blow as they now take pretty firm control of outside just by the panels and on the main floor.
The question is, are BRK going to attempt to get panel number 3, or will they just leave it as is? Yuna gonna eliminate 1 player upstairs in Cyber. GCR takes out 1, and it's all down to Diogo's, Novi's, and PX. Novi's inside of the bathroom hallway fighting the lobby defender. And with only 1 minute, BRK find themselves at such a disadvantage.
He could potentially
timing. Oh, unfortunate there. FK1 gonna come up on Navi's at the perfect moment.
Yeah, just almost very difficult not to speak over each other when that happens, because there's that excitement, and we could see it coming that he was trying to fend off GCR and FK coming around, and I really like the roaming duo that we've seen from FK and GCR so far against BRK. It has completely eaten them alive. Now Diogo is going to feed himself to the Lions here as he works his way up, and FK finishes him off as well. That's going to leave it all up to PX, who with that ACOG tries to duel with the Jaeger inside a Piano, but can't land any of the shots. And now PX will get just a couple bursts from GCR. He does hold the diffuser. He'll get run out on, and it spawns the mute on yellow stairs. LSX retakes the lead.
With an excellent round, a very aggressive round, trying to get every fight they could find, and honestly getting a lot of lucky kills there as well. Not forcing out anything too enthusiastically. LANCHONETE seems in commanding lead right now. Now, BRK, sure, every round they've won, it seems like they were clearly the victors, except for that defense we saw of the top floor. Overall, a bit of a struggle for BRK, and LANCHONETE just walking away with it, I feel.
Now, BRK, when they went to the basement, didn't prove to be successful. The only time they defended the second floor, which is console office, they were successful. So that's where they'll go back to, which, if history holds, we could see this tied up again. At least it's a better option, I feel, for BRK. They were able to largely thwart that push based off of the early gun duel, if you recall correctly, between the Ella and the Ash. So if we can get that, again, if we can see that BRK is able to deny one of the early pushes from LSX, that'll bode well in their favor. Because another observation is, if you take a look at the scoreboard, a lot of depth from LANCHONETE, but the biggest thing for me is how good LSX has been at getting that first kill, and BRK just doesn't seem to know how to recover when going down one.
It does seem like there's a lack of contribution also from certain members on BRK right now. But again, I have to stress, the only time, well, the time that BRK was successful in defense upstairs was due to just time itself. LANCHONETE wasting too much of it, and when it came down to the last one-on-one, it was a huge struggle. Gonna be holes opened up here by one to the top of yellow stairs so that they can rotate from top of yellow with a nice vault, although that also means that the other team in LANCHONETE can vault from top of yellow if they get that control. So a questionable opened a hole there. I mean, usually what you'll see happen is the bottom part of that wall will get opened up, so you can still control the site from yellow stairs, but it also doesn't hinder you should you lose yellow stairs. And instead, BRK has gone full force and opened up where you can vault in.
Incidentally, that's actually what they did in round number 2. If you remember correctly, they had an impact that was blown open onto yellow stairs so that the smoke could stay inside of that.
And he did make it to yellow.
And he did make it to yellow. The smoke stayed on yellow and didn't have an ADS. If you recall, it was LANCHONETE who tried to grenade Diogo but couldn't get him. Now you see it's going to be one who's going to be playing on smoke, and Diogo running the Jaeger himself. And what that really did was it caused a lot of issues for GCR, because as that Glaz tried to push in, he had to contend with two angles, both inside a projector as well as connector, but also, most importantly, that opened up area on yellow.
So the big question here is, will LANCHONETE get stalled out? And as the run out comes onto what I believe is the Visa doorway, not going to find any targets there. Nice try from Navi's, but seems like LANCHONETE is preoccupied elsewhere. They are still getting stalled. And we have a minute 30 now, finally hitting the clock, and Navi's going to be coming back to the side with all the action. Downstairs in the yellow section, he will be looking for some heartbeats.
And you can see a perfect throw onto one, but this time they smartly brought an ADS. Now one Mira has been opened up that will allow BNA to connect with each other through that connector, and Cyber running out, he eliminates Unit, your Thermite down. Don't really necessarily need a Thermite for his gadget on this matchup, but still, we call him Fragmite for a reason. He's still capable of laying down support when need be. But FK up top of the Skylight over yellow will eliminate Cyber. And now with Revolts creeping in, just doesn't see the pulse, and Navi's, who makes quick work of the Hibana inside of Piano.
3v4 now. LANCHONETE, same exact time they addressed this site. They did manage to stall out then, and they're stalling out again. GCR gonna get the diffuser, and hopefully gonna go for a vault into B from behind. We're gonna see Spawns eliminate Navi's. Good positioning there. Not sure what Navi's was thinking, ignoring the circle stairs. And now FK1 challenging from the bottom of yellow. He will eliminate one with his own SMG-11, but Diogo's at the yellow door to try and continue to contest, and he will get the refrag. FK1 biting the dust. 2v2 now with only 12 seconds. PX from behind spawns. It's a series of flanks and reception, and the last attacker is planting inside of B. GCR from the CEO desk has to fight two to win it out. Manages to get one on Diogo. Now a one-on-one PX inside the main hallway. Seen inside a connector, and the wide peak is not going to be enough to take down PX. He survives with one single piece of HP. That is exclusively because he is a 3 armor, proving Mira oh so strong, and will defuse, or disable rather, the diffuser, putting it on to 3-3, a back and forth map here.
Also, the suppressor.
Also the suppressor, yeah.
If he had not been running a suppressor, that would have assuredly been a kill.
Yeah, he hit the shots, and Mira did take a little bit of damage earlier in the round. So that reduction of damage from the suppressor, really seeing a lot of pain there. I mean, it's like For example, I don't know if you guys have seen the patch notes yet, but the patch notes, I think, did see that Ash is going to get a little bit of a damage nerf, only, I think, 2 points of damage. But it will change one thing. I believe the thing that it changes is the amount of body shots it will take to kill a 3 armor is changing from 3 to 2, if I recall correctly. Could be a little bit wrong about that, but that one little bullet is a huge change if that's the case, and it's the same thing displayed right there.
Yeah.
So
one bullet can make the difference. With spray patterns, if you're not able to land that headshot, one bullet can make all the difference, especially with your contending against operators that have very, very high rates of fire. And it looks like they're asking for a remake. I'm not sure what happened, but we will get a rehost here as it is all tied up 3-3, and you'll come back to our wonderful smiling faces, and we'll get the teams back in just a moment. Now, a great job from GCR to almost hold that down. It actually looked like he would be able to clutch it out. Now, the Mira with that Vector with a high rate of fire, the Glaz's position was given away when he eliminated the Jaeger because they did see one another, so they knew that for BRK, the Glaz was sitting behind the desk and decided to stand full up and peek rather than, which could have potentially been a smarter idea, use the cover around that bomb casing to sit there. Instead, decided to pull too far to the left, or from Mira's perspective, to the right of the bomb and exposed his full body, and that's all it took.
You know, the big problem for me is that you're fighting a situation where you're at the disadvantage, so yes, take everything you can, including cover, right?
Right.
And when you're going up against a Mira, just to add to your point, when you're going up against a Mira, there's still 25 bullets in that mag, if I'm correct, and that is going to get eaten up by cover. You know, if you're going against a Jaeger, slower rate of fire, 30 bullets, you've got a lot more maneuverability. And he did kill the Jaeger. But a Mira, you're going to shoot a couple bullets and find yourself running out of ammo quickly. So as long as the whole torso is not exposed, Glaz in a pretty comfortable position to win the fight. Unfortunately, he did the opposite and went ahead for that maneuver. You're absolutely right. That was probably what cost him.
It was a number of things. The fact that she's a 3 armor, the fact that he was running a suppressor, the fact that he peeked a little bit too far and Mira went for the wide peek. Now, a lot of things that you can look back on and very comfortably say, if they had done this differently, they would have gotten
2020 hindsight.
Of course.
Yep, I mean, he did have a really good job trying to come back.
Yes, GCR managed to get the plan off, which was wonderful because they had control of Projector and they knew on Yellow Stairs that he needed to be planting inside of the console office. So you look into that room, there's only one place you can't see. It's a pretty big given that he's planting behind the desk, which is going to afford you the most cover because, number one, that desk is going to block both those sight lines, but also there's the bomb there too, which is probably some of the best cover you can have in a bomb site.
Yeah, the big standing hard cover that you can stand, crouch, or prone behind and still be plenty safe. So yeah, very good cover. Also, for those of you who aren't aware, on Consulate top floor, you can't plant in that little little closet next to the actual site. You have to be fully exposed if you try to plant near the couch, so that wasn't an option, of course. Now, we are getting everybody loading back in. The score right now, for those of you who are not updated, maybe just joining us, is 3-3. And we are on map number 4 of a best of 5. Now, as you can see here, it is a situation where if LANCHONETE wins this map, they will take the overall win, go to the Invitational, whereas BRK pressured to get this map to put it onto map number 5, which would be Border if we get to it.
And LSX is going to be defending first. They won the basements. They can go anywhere else. We might see a main floor on Consulate. We probably won't from the way these teams are playing, so very likely that LSX will go upstairs. Now, the only time that they have defended the second floor, BRK got their only attack round win. So every time LSX has gone to the basement, they've won. When they've gone upstairs, they've lost. So we'll see if that pattern holds true because, hey, the last time that BRK went to the second floor, they won, and they managed to repeat that last round as well. So
I would like to see a middle floor defense from LSX, from LANCHONETE, because when they go downstairs, they put a lot of pressure into the main lobby bathroom, and that is essentially the middle floor, right? So, well, no, not essentially. It is the middle floor. So if they apply that same pressure, they have that same exact roam, but an anchor instead, then they play a little bit upstairs. I could see that working for them. You can even roam downstairs and hold that main lobby. But let's get into the actual match. Again, 3-3 on Consulate. And we will be seeing it load up right now as LANCHONETE starts on defense, I believe, and BRK on attack.
And correct. And like we said, basement is locked. They can't go there from the looks of it. We're going to go upstairs to the second floor and hope that if you're a fan of LANCHONETE, that they do a little better than they did last time around.
Well, BRK, now the rounds that they managed to win on that top floor was because their Glaz just simply smoked and waltzed on into B and didn't waste so much time. and there was no one from LANCHONETE in a position to C4 from below, just kill him outright. Nobody was really holding B.
Right.
After the initial pick came in, I think it was onto the, I want to say it was onto the Ella. But I'm guessing that LANCHONETE is going to do good on that mistake that they had last time they defended this floor, and actually have some more anchorage towards B, or at least some sort of device or a position that can deny the plant this time.
The big issue too was that Yuna was killed very early on as the smoke playing inside of console, and that's tough. You can already see they're going to go with a bit of a different strategy this time around. Last time, one of their biggest focuses was keeping Yuna protected inside of the closet in console office, and they had put down some reinforcements accordingly. As of right now, unless we're going to see some last-minute adjustments, they're going to forego that and possibly do something similar to what we saw from BRK, which is position yourself so you can rotate in and out of yellow, but with a wall reinforced there, very unlikely. So already some changes being made from LSX to hopefully not repeat the mistakes they did last time.
We'll see what happens, and as we see the initial attack come out, they're just wary of those spawn peaks. Of course, Consulate as a whole is definitely a spawn peak map. We do have a Valkyrie here in this lineup for LANCHONETE, so likely a couple of those cameras going outside. BRK, no IQ. We've seen a lot of IQ being played, but both of these teams preferring instead to wield a Glaz and at times a Capitao. So a heavy smoke strat seemingly to be set up here from BRK, likely going to go into the B bomb site. That is the focus of both teams whenever attacking the top floor.
You see Cyber running the Glaz now, so it's not one that will be going with the Glaz, it will be Cyber instead, and that was what we saw a lot of last season in Latin America, was the proficiency that you had from Cyber on Merciless, playing as that Glaz, of course, now playing for BRK rather. And then we did see some role swaps, of course. When you inherit a roster, you are going to try to change up not just the operators that you play, but the actual roles that you play, be they on site or aggressive off-site or even roamers. So with that said, Cyber's still very far away and trying to vault up and get good coverage onto the balcony just in case somebody does opt to push out and get one of those repelled attackers on the south wall by Projector.
They've spent half of the round now looking for runouts and not finding any. It looks like LANCHONETE has learned from previous mistakes and will simply wait upstairs, which is exactly how BRK has been successful on their top floor hordes. It's just waiting. Whereas when LANCHONETE goes downstairs, I mean, last time they went there, they just got aggressive. They went outside so many times, got a bunch of kills, and it worked out for them. Here, they're going to mix things up. A smart play, but a failed gas canister thrown through the B window rather than at the B window, and Yuna will probably be kicking himself for that one.
That's one down. Now, depending on how delayed the push from BRK is, they can possibly still try to tie them together to get maximum area denial. And it looked like there was going to be another and a wow, he manages to shoot that C4 out. We don't see that every day, and that's a big kudos to
We don't see that every week.
We don't see that every week. We don't see that every month. Really only at LAN do we see it, and that's because of the low level of latency.
It's so easy at LAN, honestly.
A fire arrow from PX will asphyxiate Yuna, and you've cleaned out the smoke yet again. However, you still need to go in and take the site. Some smoke screen will provide excellent coverage as GCR and Spawns take out Navi's and Diogo, and you've lost the Hibana and the Thatcher, but the Glaz still there from Cyber to rain terror. He can see inside a connector. He also has some sights on yellow, and he will take out Spawns when one B heads GCR and FK gets taken down by Cyber as well. That's going to leave Revolts in a 1v3 trying to determine the location of the attackers. Buck inside a bathroom, almost barely see the tip of the end of Buck's C8 rifle through the hole in the wall. Is able to land some of the shots, but now his position given away too, and unfortunately, oh no, that hole in the wall, he'll need to wriggle through. Can't just crouch walk his way in. The Glaz's position given away. One repelled on the window, the other playing behind the barricaded wall, and Revolts will march to his death. Cyber, 3 kills on the round, pushing his team to match point on Consulate.
And as well, it looks like we might have a map number 5 if BRK keeps playing like this, but they are going to have to defend now, and defense has been a lot less favored. Again, we talked about this a little bit earlier. We have not seen LSX defend the top floor successfully yet, I believe. They've been struggling a lot with it. Even this time, after they mixed up their strategy, it was, well, hopefully unsuccessful. Now, BRK will defend the basement, which they also haven't had a lot of success on. Some misplays with their yokai drones, not enough people actually in the garage. not one person in the garage last time LANCHONETE went for a push towards white, and an easy plant was the result. So BRK going to need to get a little bit more aggressive, actually hold their positions, and that's going to be what will allow them to avoid overtime here.
So you had BRK winning an attack on a site that they had not lost an attack on, and now you have LSX attacking a site that they have never lost an attack on. So if BRK manages to win basement for the first time today, then that will propel them into matchup number 5, which will be border the ultimate tiebreaker. And no matter what happens at the conclusion of this round, we will have to exit either for a rehost before we go into overtime or simply to prep for map number 5. So still, we saw this with BRK last time. Some pretty big miscues with barricading doors, with reinforcing walls, with dropping down. And
I mean,
yet again, they just keep bumping into each other.
And you know that barbed wire might not seem like a lot to some people, but the fact that you don't know where your barbed wire is going means that you just don't know your teammates very well. It's not necessarily the sort of thing you figure out before the match, right? Everybody knows where barbed wire needs to go. The question is who's putting it where. But usually you expect your teammates to sort of work out a chemistry. It's like, oh, this guy, he's going to put his barbed wire there, so I'll go put it over here instead. And that's just a lack of understanding, a lack of communication, and I don't know, it does spell a lot out for BRK. It tells you a lot about the team.
And one very significant mistake that they made last time was they weren't able to get all of the walls of the garage reinforced. It was panel 1 that I believe was left unreinforced, and all it took was an Ash charge to blow that wide open. Now, after having taken care of the bandit charges, an exothermic will go down, and I'm not certain if Diogo is going to be able to juggle this as Yuna lays the charge and then stops. They will spot the Ella on yellow stairs next to the vending machines, and FK runs in, and some very good coordination as Cyber gets eliminated after being droned out, and a joint push strategy.
So that seems to be the main difference here between LANCHONETE and BRK, is that LANCHONETE is actually communicating, coordinating quite a lot, as FK is going to get a kill onto one just beneath him behind the white van. So we said white van needed to be held, but not if you have holes above you and you need to move around a little bit, play it safe. GCR going to reset himself with the aid of spawns, and it will be a 5-on-3 in the last half of this round.
Navi's creeps up the dock on flank watch, trying to go in, and of course that ACOG, and one of the best guns on defense, in my opinion. The MP5 can be an absolute laser beam and a headshot machine. And of course, with the Doc, you do have a little bit more of longevity. Now, the Ash just completely out to lunch. Navi's capitalizes on that, and we'll see if they can manage to get a trade-off. But the Doc looks like he'll be able to get to safety at the top of Spiral Stairs without a scare from any of the other attackers.
So at least one kill to slightly even things out, but it's still looking pretty bad here from BRK. Surprising, though, that there was no refrag onto Navi's. Not one other attacker near the piano able to aid the Ash. It kind of catches you off guard. That means such a huge focus is being put on that garage by LANCHONETE right now. GCR is going to eliminate Navi's with a nice headshot. That's the Doc, the ACOG, and your main long angle contention eliminated. Diogo with his reflex trying to fight people from the mirror window. From above, Revolts will eliminate Diogo, and now a 1-on-4. The last 30 seconds, DX going to miss his C4, or it might have actually been shot. It didn't even seem like it was detonated at all. And being flanked right now from small office, Revolts will get the kill and lock out this round. So it looks like we will see overtime on Consulate, which means a rehost is bound. There will be a coin toss to determine who will be starting on which side, given that normally it is random.
So for me, based on the way this works, the team that attacks twice is likely going to win. Because there's very clearly one side they cannot defend. So if you're BRK and you have to defend twice, you're going to go upstairs, you'll win that one. Your opponents are going to go downstairs. You've never won that one before. But then if you're BRK, you then also have to go downstairs, which you've never won either. That's going to be problematic. The same is the inverse of LSX. If they start, they'll go downstairs, they'll win that one. Then you'll likely see BRK go upstairs. LSXs will lose that, or LSX will lose that, and then they themselves will have to go upstairs. And if the pattern holds, they'll lose that too. So, yeah, the team that defends twice is likely going to be, if this pattern holds, the loser.
It's a team preference enforced clubhouse syndrome. That's basically what's going on right now. I mean, and we'll see if that holds true. It's possible they can free themselves from that curse, though, because this is Consulate. Right. Consulate, first of all, neither of them have gone to the lobby yet. That is still an option for either. If during this rehost, this offers you a period of time to strategize. If during this rehost, one of these teams decides, okay, you know, let's try out lobby. We've got this strat that we've never really used. Maybe it'll work out for us. The mix-up is probably worth it. If one of these teams decide that and then get defense first, it could spell doom for the other.
Right. The only real question I have is that you have to attack the main floor very similar to the way that you attack the second floor.
Yes.
If you are, I believe it's LSX who have not successfully defended the second floor, hard-pressed to say that the first floor could work as well. That could be too much of a gamble. But if you are BRK, you know you're going to lose the basement and you have to defend twice. Maybe go main floor and see if you can defend it very similar. The big linchpin, of course, is going to be that you don't have to defend console that aggressively because it's not a bomb site, and that makes a pretty significant difference as well.
I mean, the one thing for LSX is if they go to that middle floor that I could say it might work for them is you can actually roam downstairs and successfully hold the middle floor. You've got a lot of drops in the main lobby. Easily you can chuck a C4 and hit anyone trying to play into the front door if that happens. You could do a lot of destructible floors over by piano, for example, if the attacker's trying to plant there. So there's a lot of roaming options. The cool thing about middle floor is you can roam upstairs, you can roam downstairs, and you can deny a lot of ground to the attack. So it could play to both teams' advantages, right? We just have to see which team is going to make that leap, if either. So we are getting everyone into the lobby now. Again, the score will be 4-4, overtime just starting up. The coin toss looks like it has gone down as everyone is readying up, so we'll find out where it is exactly these teams land. It looks like LSX is going to be on attack, BRK on defense.
BRK will have to defend twice, so that will be very difficult for them. However, they do have that first floor potential ace in their sleeve, or ace in the hole rather, or rabbit up their sleeve, whatever cliche you'd like to use, or card up their sleeve.
You know, well, whatever the case.
Trick card.
It's an option. The question is, will they use it? Now, we're loading into the game. Thank you so much for waiting, everybody. 4-4, LSX on attack, BRK on defense, and this is overtime. Now, again, BRK, you know, they're the ones right now in this super pressure position, and they do have the disadvantage. Even if they go to middle floor, that's still, I think, a disadvantage because they're going to feel pressured to going to a different site that they normally wouldn't. You know, they're going to be like, oh, we have to do this because we cannot win the basement. So no matter what, LANCHONETE definitely and the ones in the advantage here, or LANCHONETE, excuse me.
So they will go up top, and this is, of course, the site that BRK has won every single time. So if you're following at home, that means LSX has failed to win it. And look at the composition. So a couple things of note right away. You have GCR on the glass. He almost single-handedly won it for them last time around. Spawns will stick on the Ash. Now, I'm very interested as to what the idea is with the Thermite. Yuna has run a Thermite on this particular site every single time. Now, they didn't run a Hibana, so my assumption is they probably imagined that they would go to the to the basement, but why does Yuna keep bringing a Thermite? What is your plan, especially with the fact that BRK has a penchant for opening this exact wall up?
You know, it's got to be this. It's got to be that, first of all, Yuna's got to really like Thermite. Second of all, obviously they're just trying to be cautious. What if BRK throws a curveball and goes downstairs first round, right? But at the same time, as we've said before, BRK has not once won that bottom floor. They have been hopefully unsuccessful down there. It has been a struggle for them. So I get the caution. However, I totally disagree with it. I think BRK is not going to take that risk and go to basement first round. It's safe to bring a Hibana who has indisputably more fragging potential and more maneuverability on this floor as your hard destructor.
And arguably better guns too. Let's exclude the fact that her gadget might be better for opening a couple holes here and there to be able to look through. But just the Type 9 and the Type 89 and the Bearing 9 are very, very good. You've
got everything, right?
Yes.
So there are two types of guns in Siege, I think, if you chalk them all up to these. It's ones that are laser beams and ones that have ridiculous recoil that sometimes get random headshots. Whoa, what a shot there from GCR onto PX, and that's going to be an early lead for LANCHONETE. They need that, though, as again, they've not been successful here yet.
He takes the head right off of the mirror. There was just a pixel showing, but that's all they needed. And now you've eliminated a C4 and to worry about the one player who was inside of Projector. So now at least one of the sites is opened up for you. Now, with the way the reinforcements were going, it did look like Navi's was going to be playing out of Visa as well as Admin. That's a smart place for him to be. Cyber, the Ella, has rotated now just inside of Connector to cover Projector. And Navi's getting a bit of a scare onto the attackers as he hits that doorway on the bottom of yellow.
He's going to have to deal with the Thatcher over by Cement Wall, though. And Revolt's just trying to hold on to his teammates' flanks underneath. The reason he's there is to prevent Navi's from C4ing underneath B once the actual vault comes in through those B windows. He has gone upstairs though. In the final minute of the round, LANCHONETE actually looking to make their push.
And a grenade goes in as Diogo eliminates Spawns. That was the Ash coming up the stairs, and Diogo getting the best of him, but FK eliminates the Pulse, and they are doing a good job of holding off those roamers. One has lost a significant portion of his health and is on just a shred left, but Cyber could go for the run-on. There's no Claymore. He sees one. A big double kill from Cyber as he gets 2 Clay Pigeons in Yuna and GCR, and now goes for a third, but FK, who has every kill for his team other than GCR, is able to eliminate Cyber. Smokes will prevent the push as it's 2v2. One still has those toxic babes left, but doesn't have much health and is susceptible to even one shot, one kill. Diogo's lost half of his health as well, and they're going to have to try to figure them out. One now rotates as they could get a push from 2 angles, and the Thatcher runs in. Revolts manages to kill one. Diogo gets a kill, but FK trades it off, and LSX does something that they haven't been able to do so far, which is prevail on that second floor. A big round from FK for LSX, and now they're going to be able to defend a basement, a site that they've yet to lose on match point.
That timing from One. He had the SMG-11 pointed in the face of that Thatcher pushing up from Spiral, and he just looked away at the perfect moment to lose the fight. That was extremely disheartening. What seemed like it might have been a good recovery there from BRK, given the Cyber run out and no coverage from LANCHONETE, just wasn't enough. FK1 really stepping up for his team in that round too. I mean, holy wow, just a good round from him. I mean, especially with that first fight onto the Ella at the yellow stairs window. You're supposed to lose that. That's Ella. He's got the gun, he's got the HP, and still FK managed to win it. Well done to him. Now, basement, like you said, from LANCHONETE. This is the site that they have been dominating on. Not in any fashion they choose to play it, too. That's the beautiful thing, is they don't just play passive. They don't just play all the way outside. They will do whatever works in the situation, and it's been, well, very good for them so far.
LANCHONETE only 1 round away as we are on match point and championship point, which is incredible for the team formerly known primarily as Pain and also members of INS. It's been a good run for them, and BRK as well, a team that most people thought Mopo would defeat, has had a good showing too. And no matter what, this is being LSX map, would not be a surprise to see them win, but BRK has put up one heck of a fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people were expecting Mopa to win, and then a lot of people were expecting BRK to win here, and now it's looking like LANCHONETE's going to win. So there's I mean, we saw a lot of what I think in the past we might have called upsets, and nowadays it's just the way of the game in North America, and we're seeing that exact same thing reflected here now in Latin America, and that's, honestly, I think that's really intriguing. Now, Thatcher is going to try and cover PX's thermite charge, but it will actually be successful. It looked like we might have seen a mute trying to go down there on the garage. Unfortunately, that cannot stop an already detonated thermite.
You can't mute juggle just like that.
No.
Navi's is the first one eliminated as GCR eliminates him with a nice headshot from that Scorpion. He patrols just inside of Circle Desk in main lobby and looking to see if there's anybody else roaming. But right now, a very one-dimensional attack from BRK as they are stacked up in front of the garage. Now, yes, panel 1 is gone, but they still now need to worry about getting another panel. You've lost your Ash, which, as we've said many, many times before, not crucial, but Navi's has been great at getting kills. GCR runs out, gets Diogo, looks for a second before coming back in, and I'm not exactly certain how the Thatcher didn't see that coming and how GCR was able to get away with that.
You're really not supposed to win those fights. Ella, sure. Right, Ella, by the way. But at the same time, that is a fight that you were supposed to lose. The Thatcher was hard ADS on that window. Truly unfortunate for BRK, and now in the last half of the round, they're in a 3-on-5. This is, again, that mixture of aggression and passiveness coming out from LANCHONETE on this basement hold and working out stupendously for them. Mira going to be holding that main garage by the back of White. We have a Twitch inside of Lockers. Cyber looking for the angles, not able to find one yet. He will light up the mute, but Spawn's able to get away with his life. Last minute of the round, a missed smoke here from One. That is really detrimental here. And I think there's still a C4 on Revolt, so once the actual push comes in, it's going to be difficult to hold at the front of white.
Yeah, with the smoke, definitely that is a huge loss because you don't have the coverage that you would with just one. We'll see another one go out, which will manage to block panel number 3, but regardless, still won't be able to get too much out of it. You see that the C4 does come out from spawns, but Cyber guns him down, but FK on the flank eliminates PX, and it's all up to One and Cyber to keep their dream of going to Montreal alive. The Twitch on the roam, coming in now through corridor, but that ump of Yuna able to eliminate one, and it's just the Twitch. Pinning their hopes in a 1v4, the Vector will do some significant damage to the wall, or rather, sorry, the Scorpion will, and it's Cyber all hold up through the wall, now gets pressured by the Vector. They know the position, Cyber comes in, and they'll trade it off, and LANCHONETE will go to Montreal to represent Latin America as they are your champions from the R6 LATAM Invitational Playoffs.
What an amazing shot there from Cyber, though, at the end, really going out in a blaze of glory. And despite the loss, it was certainly a fierce contention put up by BRK. I mean, every one of these maps, save for Chalet, went pretty close. I mean, Clubhouse 2-5, sure, but that was, you know, I don't know. It was still a fight put up from BRK. The rounds were close. They were trying, you know, BRK definitely tried to win them. And there was... It's disheartening for BRK too. I mean, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to make it now.
They've, especially if you look at it now, you've got Font who didn't make it. You've got Mopa who didn't make it. They will now, both of these teams, juggernauts in their region, are both going to be competing for either a wild card or the community vote. And we'll see how that shakes out as it's determined sometime in the next couple days, weeks, however long the timeline is. And yes, BRK looking like their chances at competing for Brazil in Montreal might be far out of reach. We'll go to the highlights and see exactly what just happened and some really nice glass play. That to me was the real highlight of this matchup. I
mean, glass play was excellent from both teams, and I think that's something to take away, is that Latin America really has the thumb on the trigger there with, or finger on the trigger there with glass, and they do well with them. Now, they're not the only region, though, that had some upsets, some teams that aren't going to be finding themselves at the Invitational by virtue of the qualifiers. I mean, you saw the same exact thing happen for North America, Rogue and Flipside, neither of them managing to qualify out. And I expect to see something similar happen with Europe later in this week. So, you know, those wild cards and that community vote, those are going to get, you know, taken up really fast, I have to imagine.
Well, you had Beat Genius, who was the #1 overall seeded EU team. We casted that match, actually, before I flew to Poland, and look at that, able to eliminate that Nitro Cell. Really great aim there. But you would be Genius get eliminated in the very first round, and Patacalypse, the Polish team, proving that they were too much to handle. So there will be no first overall seed that will win based solely on their standings in the brackets, unless, of course, APAC has a chance, because every team competing in APAC on Saturday, if I remember correctly, will have finished first overall in their region. And look at this, Cyber just running out and gutting them all down.
Yeah, and Patacalypse really taking a lot of people off guard with their success and making their way into those semis. I look forward to watching that match. But that's all we have for Latin America, I believe, for today. Let's take a look at the bracket for the region as a whole, see where it all landed, where it all ended up.
And we'll just bring it up for you just to take a look. And this is what happened in Latin America. LANCHONETE coming in and stealing the day, managed to eliminate all of the teams along the way. And that is your final 3-1 LANCHONETE over BRK E-Sports. And Yuna, GCR, FK1, Spawns, and Revolts will be now playing in Montreal. So good luck to them, and good luck to all the other members of Latin America who are going to be trying for both a wild card and likely the community vote. They have a very passionate region, so I won't be too surprised if the teams that they get nominated for in the wild or in the community vote, I mean, fare very well.
The Latin American region for Rainbow Six is, I think, if you're talking about a singular country in Brazil, probably the biggest region overall in terms of just pure people, and I'm guessing that, yeah, they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable about that situation.
Absolutely. And with that said, that's it for us today here at Latin America. Earlier on, we saw both Emzo and Milos start off the day, and both Kix and myself ended it. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you live tomorrow for the EU playoffs, and it'll be Patacalypse versus Room Factory in a best-of-5 for one of the 2 EU spots. Take care, and we'll see you then.